Chapter 804. Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao happened to be a master of defense and a master of offense. With the two of them together, they could form a powerful lineup. This was also why Li Fan liked to have the two of them work as bodyguards. Because when they were together, their safety and combat power would increase greatly. But there was one troublesome point. The two of them liked to fight when they were together. Yan Kai was a chatterbox, while Guan Wenbao was a taciturn person. Fortunately, he had already found a suitable girl for Guan Wenbao, but it was time for Yan Kai to find one too. He could not possibly be single forever. If this went on, he would really become a gay man. Although Li Fan strongly suspected that Yan Kai was a gay man. But Yan Kai refused to admit it, so the matter was left unsettled. You are all ordinary people. Yan Kai looked at the attacking men in black and twitched his mouth. With your skills, don't embarrass yourselves. Yan Kai had always thought highly of himself. His voice was full of disdain, as if he did not think much of these men in black. However, Li Fan noticed that these black-clothed men all had a bronze waist tag hanging on their waist. They seemed to be assassins from Yamadian. These were all bronze-level assassins. Why would Yamadian send these small fries to deal with him? They should at least send someone with a black name tag. Wasn't this an insult? Old Guan, send them away. Li Fan said to Yan Kai as he ate. All right. When it came to fighting, Guan Wenbao was better than Yan Kai. He put down his bowl, picked up his crescent moon blade, turned around and slashed horizontally. The blade's aura spread out instantly, and the men in black were cut into two by Guan Wenbao's aura blade. Their bodies fell to the ground. The boss sat there, munching on a spring onion as he watched the commotion. Looking at the ground full of intestines and blood, he did not feel like vomiting at all. This was the ancient path of camel and horse. Incidents like this were a common occurrence. There was nothing to be surprised about. It was just a few deaths. It was nothing new. Guan Wenbao easily chopped down several black-clothed men, all of them dying under his saber. Soon, there was no one around. Guan Wenbao used the clothes of a black-clothed man to wipe his treasured saber clean. Only then did he turn around and return. The broth was still warm. I was fortunate enough to accomplish my mission. Okay, sit down and eat. Li Fan ordered a bowl of noodles for Guan Wenbao. Such a strong man must have a big appetite. Yes, benefactor. Guan Wenbao sat down and continued to eat. At this time, a one-eyed man in a black cardigan walked over and sat on the opposite table. Boss, give me a bowl of noodles. All right. The boss immediately received them, but the one-eyed man slammed the table. This is a scam. A bowl of noodles is so expensive. It's just a small business. There's actually not much profit. The boss hurriedly explained, would you like to eat the noodles or work first? The one-eyed man put down his chopsticks and looked at the boss coldly. On this ancient road of camel and horse, it's easy to lose your life if you talk too much. Look at my mouth. I'll bring the noodles for you. The boss hurriedly went to serve the noodles, but Li Fan smiled and interrupted, Boss, put the money for his bowl of noodles on my account. After all, he's a customer who came to look for me. How can I let a customer pay for his own meal? Li Fan wiped his mouth. Dear friend, may I know your name? The other party looked at Li Fan gloomily. At the same time, he flicked his finger. A chopstick immediately turned into an arrow and shot towards Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out two chopsticks and caught Heng Sha's chopstick. Friend, this isn't good. I'm treating you to noodles, but you're treating me to chopsticks? Li Fan asked. Li Fan, your time is up. As Heng Sha spoke, he lifted the hem of his robe and showed his white signboard. You killed the young master of the Fong family. I'm here to take your life. He deserved to die. Li Fan didn't care at all. However, this isn't important. I only have one wish. I hope that the white assassins from Yen Luodian can be more powerful. Li Fan, I know that you've defeated a few black assassins from Yen Luodian. Heng Sha's lips curled into a mysterious smile. However, I'm different from them. You'll find that there's a world of difference between white and black. As he spoke, he took a sip of tea and poured himself another cup. All of a sudden, He threw the teacup in his hand towards Li Fan's face. Li Fan was very calm. He sat there and instructed Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao not to interfere. At the same time, Li Fan blew on the teacup that was thrown at him. Taking the elixir field, a breath of vital energy erupted from his mouth and blew on the teacup. Bam! The teacup exploded in midair, and Heng Sha's body followed suit. His palm was aimed at Li Fan's forehead. Heng Sha's palm was black. He was obviously practicing some kind of poisonous palm. However, Li Fan didn't care. He wrapped his vital energy around his left hand and met Heng Sha's palm. Bam! Heng Sha's body shook and he took a step back. Li Fan's chair also slid back a distance. He landed on the ground and steadied himself, as expected of a white assassin. His strength was indeed extraordinary. His inner force was almost on par with his own. Li Fan secretly praised him and then hooked his finger at Heng Sha. Heng Sha's eyes darted around, as if he was thinking of a plan to kill Li Fan. He was an assassin. A good assassin shouldn't fight his opponent head-on. Instead, he should choose an ingenious method to kill his opponent. His poisonous palm didn't seem to have any effect on Li Fan. He was still standing there in high spirits. Heng Sha's footsteps were very ghostly. It was unknown what method he used, but he suddenly teleported behind Li Fan. At the same time, Heng Sha took out a thin sword and directly stabbed at the back of Li Fan's neck. However, it was as if Li Fan had eyes on the back of his head. He immediately tilted his head and dodged Heng Sha's thin sword. At the same time, Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and pinched the thin sword that passed over his shoulder. Attacking from behind? You don't look like a real man, do you? I, Heng Sha, am not a real man to begin with. I'll just kill you. After saying that, Heng Sha spat out a silver needle from his mouth. It turned into a faint silver light and shot at the back of Li Fan's head that had just tilted to the side. Spitting out silver needles was Heng Sha's ultimate move. The silver needle was dipped in 3 steps throat-sealing poison. He had taken the antidote beforehand, which was why he could temporarily keep the silver needle in his mouth. Now was the best time to use it. In the blink of an eye, the silver needle had already reached the back of Li Fan's head. It would pierce into his head at any moment. But at this moment, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and made a palm-pressing gesture. The silver needle that was approaching Li Fan suddenly stopped, as if it was stuck by an invisible barrier. It was in a dilemma and trembled incessantly. Chapter 805. That silver needle was suddenly repelled by Li Fan's vital energy and flew straight towards Heng Sha's eyes. Heng Sha hurriedly dodged, his heart filled with extreme shock. How terrifying! This man had clearly fused his vital energy with his body. This vital energy was like a coat draped around his body, forming an aura that made it difficult for his sneak attack to achieve its goal. If his attack failed, he would flee 1,000 miles away. Heng Sha didn't dare to be careless. He threw a handful of flying needles at Li Fan. Li Fan reached out and used the vital energy in his right hand to seal the flying needles. Heng Sha took this opportunity to turn and run. Using his qinggong, he disappeared behind the house in a few steps. Guan Wenbao raised his crescent blade and was about to give chase. Forget it. Li Fan reached out and stopped Guan Wenbao. Don't chase a cornered enemy. Guan Wenbao then put down his crescent blade and returned to his chair to continue enjoying his breakfast. Why did Yen Luodian chase us here? Yan Kai could not help but be curious. The Fong family must have paid for them to come. Li Fan said calmly, the Fong family does not have any experts. They are all a bunch of useless good-for-nothings. Paying for someone is their only way. This bunch of trash. Yan Kai scolded. They really spoiled this Tao Lord's mood. Don't say that. That person called Heng Sha is quite powerful. Li Fan even praised Yen Luodian. After all, the white-letter assassins are very powerful. Next time, you don't have to do anything. This Tao Lord will deal with them. Yan Kai wiped his mouth, feeling all sorts of vexation. This trip was simply too vexing. Not good at all. All right, eat your noodles. Li Fan comforted him. Boss, your noodles are really good. Ha, thank you. The boss lit up a cigarette and sat outside the kitchen, smoking. Li Fan was about to order another bowl when his phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and heard that it was Zhou Tai. "Where did you go?" Zhou Tai went straight to the point and asked directly. "Do a quest. Hurry back to City A," Zhou Tai said. "The mission will begin immediately." "We can't. We are now on the Luoma Ancient Road, close to Tianjin." Li Fan said, "It will take at least 7 or 8 hours to get back." "Stay there. I'll locate you." Zhou Tai said, "There will be a plane coming to pick you up soon." "All right." Li Fan laughed. "Since there's a private plane to pick you up, why not? Wait here, don't run around." After Zhou Tai finished speaking, he hung up. "Did you see that? Did you see that?" Li Fan beamed with joy. "We're going to have business soon. Lei, you'll be responsible for driving the car back. We'll take a plane back to City A. I'll go back and arrange a big job. It's the big job you mentioned before, right?" Yan Kai nodded. "Sure, I'll be on standby. This kind of job would definitely be interesting." Moreover, according to the previous arrangement, Li Fan, Yan Kai, and Guan Wenbao would take the open road. As for Qin Junhua and Big Dipper, they would take the hidden road with the real escort. The route of the hidden road had not been decided yet. Li Fan was prepared to decide on it before they set off. When Li Fan and the rest were preparing for the next escort, an uninvited guest came to Murong's villa. An old man wept as he walked into the courtyard. He arrived in front of Murong and knelt down. Murong raised her hand and stopped the old man with her true energy, helping him up. "Mr. Fong, you're about the same age as me and your status is not that different from mine. Why kneel to me?" "Mr. Murong, you must seek justice for me." Mr. Fong looked like he was about to die. "My son was young and pure. He was kind and charitable on the Camel Ancient Road and had a good reputation. I didn't expect that the evil Guan Wenbao of the Fifan Escort Agency took a fancy to my son's sweetheart. In order to break them up, he joined forces with the little overlord, Li Fan, and killed my son. Mr. Murong, you're the leader of the pugilistic world. You must seek justice for me." "Oh, I see." Murong nodded. "I know. That Li Fan is guilty of a heinous crime. His subordinates are naturally not good people. Sob, 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 my poor son. He had a bright future, but he suffered an undeserved calamity for nothing. My condolences." Murong comforted the old man. "My family, Murong, belongs to the pugilistic world. We can't tolerate a single grain of sand in our eyes. This Li Fan has harmed the pugilistic world. I don't think he's any different from Li Wei of the devil cult. Yes, Mr. Murong, Villa Master Murong, you must seek justice for us." Old man Fong's son had died. He was crying and was very sad. "Be careful not to hurt yourself. Go back and rest early." Murong said, "My condolences." Sob, sob, sob. Old man Fong went back crying. Murong turned his head and looked at Murong Ing, who was sitting next to him. "Did you hear that? You still don't want to give up?" "Maybe there's a reason." Before Murong Ing finished, Murong sneered. "My silly daughter, you're still dreaming. I told you from the beginning that this Li Fan is not a good person. He has already done such an intolerable thing, and you're still indulging him? I just like to see things with my own eyes." "You're so stupid," Murong said. "Now that things have come to this, you can't do whatever you want." "What are you going to do?" "Send out the iron guards of the Murong family." Murong Ing directly refused. "Haven't the higher-ups already given the order not to touch Li Fan? I, Murong, have never listened to the government." Murong sneered. "And who am I, and who is Li Fan? Even if I really kill Li Fan, it won't have any effect. Li Fan's faction will at most find another person to replace him." "You're right." Murong Ing looked at her father, the supreme of martial arts. "But have you ever thought that all of this is based on ideals? You must kill Li Fan in one go. If you can't do it, then the government will keep finding trouble for you. At that time, our Murong family will lose support, and the glory will be gone." "Hee hee, are you looking down on the power of the Iron Guards?" Murong laughed. "What's more, the fate of the Murong family is decided by you." What do you mean? It means that you're responsible for getting rid of Li Fan. Murong's words made her daughter's face turn pale. Don't forget your identity. The rise and fall of the Murong family are all on you. A sentence of Murong family's rise and fall tied Murong Ing. An hour later, Murong Ing changed into a plain white Chong Sam, followed by 4 men with iron masks, and walked out the door. Murong came to greet her. Chapter 806. Murong AI walked up and stopped her sister. Sister, are you crazy? Are you really going to kill him? Where did you get the news? Murong Ing looked at her sister and thought. I didn't even tell Taiju about this. Anyway, you can't go. Murong AI said anxiously, you absolutely can't go. Don't you understand? Murong Ing stood there and looked into the distance. Being born in this family, some things are not up to you and me. Why not? Murong AI changed her image of a good girl and argued, previously, Murong's family always looked down on you, but didn't you still take the position of Wulin's chief? You are my sister, the goal I have been chasing. Tell me, when did you like to submit to fate? Murong Ing AI's words made her sister silent for a moment. But she quickly said, when I was young, I could naturally be unscrupulous. But when you reach my age, you will know what is an unshirkable responsibility. You are not that much older than me. You are only 21 this year. Murong AI was a little angry. How can you be so cowardly and give in? I carry the entire Murong's family on my back. Murong's family is fine. Why do you carry it on your back? You won't understand even if I tell you. Murong Ing did not speak, but turned around and sat in a Bentley at the side. The 4 guards also followed in the SUV behind. Murong Ing tightly closed the door, not letting her sister in. Open the door. Let me in. I want to make it clear to you. Murong AI pulled the door with great force, but the door was sealed by Murong Ing with true chi. Even if Murong AI used her strength, she could not pull it open. Damn it, sister, quickly get out. Drive. Murong Ing ordered the chauffeur to start the car immediately. Murong AI stomped her feet in anger. In the past, Murong Ing would definitely spoil her little sister, but today was different. On the surface, Murong's family looked fine. It was still the #1 manor in the martial arts world, the leading figure in the martial arts world. However, after operating for so many years, the villa had actually entered a period of decline. The reason why the villa hadn't collapsed was because of his father. His father didn't seem to have much talent and wasn't favored by the family. Back then, he didn't even have a chance to become the family head. But one day, his father's strength suddenly increased greatly. His martial arts became unparalleled, and he was able to learn all the moves in one go. He paved the way for the martial arts world and served as the leader of the martial arts world for 30 consecutive years. He was fully deserving of the title of the supreme being in the world. However, there were too many geniuses in the world of martial arts, especially in this generation. All the major sects and villas had begun to produce genius masters one after another. For example, Huashan's Chenjunhua, 5 Tigers sects Kuchuanza, Guan Clan's Guan Wenbao, Wudong sects Yen Kai, and so on. These people might not be top-notch masters now, but in 10 or 20 years, they would definitely become top-notch masters. From then on, they would dominate the martial arts world and lead the way. She could inherit Murong's family and climb to the position of supreme being. However, she couldn't compete with all the heroes in the martial arts world on her own. She needed others to assist her. In the beginning, Murong Ing had taken a fancy to Li Fan's pure yang body. She planned to give birth to a pure yang baby and let him become the future of Murong's villa. In order for Murong's family to flourish, she still needed a man. Murong Ing sighed faintly. Li Fan's growth had already exceeded her expectations. This was both a good and a bad thing. The good thing was that he grew really fast and would become a grandmaster sooner or later. Moreover, he exuded a special charisma that attracted many masters to help him. Guan Wenbao, Yen Kai, and even swordplay masters like Chen Junhua were willing to stay by his side. Not to mention the masters like Puti and the Yenjing 11 cavalrymen. Murong's birthday could be said to be God's will. Murong's family completely broke off relations with Li Fan and then suppressed Phenomenal Escort Agency. This could more or less slow down Phenomenal Escort Agency's growth. However, just after they stopped them, the higher-ups had given orders to maintain a balance with Li Fan in the future. This meant that someone was starting to support Li Fan. This was the bad thing. It was precisely because Li Fan was too outstanding that he would become a thorn in her father's side sooner or later. However, this was the path she had chosen from the beginning. There was no way to change it. Murong sighed. If she hadn't been born into Murong's family in the beginning and had been born into an ordinary family, perhaps everything would have been different. However, this wasn't something she could choose. Murong walked into a secret room. There was nothing inside the secret room. When Murong walked in, the wall in front of her slowly opened up, revealing a huge LCD screen. A figure appeared on the screen. His face couldn't be seen clearly, but he was talking to Murong. "Are we leaving?" "Yes, I've already asked my daughter to stop them." "Aren't you afraid that your daughter will act on her emotions?" "Apart from her, there are the 4 guardians." Murong said, "If there's no other choice, I'll use the soul transfer spell." "You're willing to do that?" "Of course I can't bear to, but at this stage I have no choice but to do so." Murong clenched his fists, and his eyes were somewhat cold. Meanwhile, Li Fan was already on his way. After Li Fan, Guan Wenbao, and Yen Kai came out of the escort agency, they carried the goods and boarded a van. "All right, let's go." Li Fan looked at the time. It was 11 o'clock in the afternoon. The weather was gloomy. Dark clouds blocked the noon sun, and it seemed like it would rain at any moment. The driver was a brother from the National Security Agency. He wore a leather jacket and sat on both sides. 2 men in black suits were sitting on either side of him. One was Lu Bing, and the other was Zhang Guang. They were both undercover agents of the National Security Agency. This mission was extremely important, but no one else was following them. Because if they were to transport it with great fanfare, this thing would be exposed. This Plan X was secretly carried out by the faction behind Li Fan. It couldn't be made public, so everything was carried out in secret. However, Li Fan knew that someone must have been watching them in the dark. Chen Junhua and Mr. Big Dipper had already set off earlier than them. The 2 of them brought the real X and set off from the Yellow Springs path where the Phoenix King was. No one knew where they were going. Li Fan didn't even tell Zhou Tai. Even Zhou Tai thought that the real goods were on this container truck. When the soybean-like raindrops began to fall, Li Fan's van slowly set off. For safety's sake, they didn't even dare to sit on a plane, afraid that they would be shot down from the sky. Zhou Tai stood on a nearby building and watched the van slowly set off. He turned to look at the man standing beside him. "Follow them and protect them in secret." "Got it." Chapter 807. City A was in He Province, while Mayuquan was in Liaoning Province. It would take them about 10 hours to reach their destination. It was another long-distance bus ride. Guan Wenbao and Yen Kai sat in the back while Li Fan and 2 men in black sat in the front. These 2 plainclothes officers from the National Security Agency obviously didn't trust Li Fan. The 2 of them looked at Li Fan with suspicion in their eyes. "Brother Li, right?" Lu Bing seemed to be a very enthusiastic person. He was more talkative and took out a cigarette from his pocket. He took out a stick and passed it to Li Fan. "Do you smoke?" "No, I'm still a student. I don't smoke." Li Fan waved his hand to refuse. How many students don't smoke these days?" Lu Bing curled his lips and lit a cigarette. He took a puff. "I saw a female student last time. Her smoking was better than mine. It's the same everywhere. There are good and bad people, right?" Li Fan had a smile on his face. "Even among you policemen, there are good people and bad people, right?" Lu Bing was stunned for a moment. He was actually choked by Li Fan's words. "Don't smoke when you're on a mission." Zhang Guang seemed to be a little more serious. He stretched out his hand, took Lu Bing's cigarette, and threw it out of the car. "Fuck, I'm not being serious." Lu Bing felt sorry for his cigarette. "And you're throwing things out of the car. How uncivilized." "I was trying to correct your behavior. I had no choice but to do so." There's a reason for it. Zhang Guang said in a serious tone. Fuck you. Lu Bing was a little addicted to smoking. He looked like an old smoker. It's okay for me to smoke. Brother Li is watching the car. Isn't he a martial arts expert? Martial arts expert? Heh, can he block a bullet? Zhang Guang seemed to be very disdainful of Li Fan's identity. He's just trying to please the crowd. Don't talk nonsense, I'm just telling the truth. Li Fan was not angry. Instead, he glanced at Zhang Guang and asked, "This friend, do you not believe in martial arts? If that trick really worked, the Eight-Nation Alliance wouldn't have invaded." Zhang Guang said, "The foreigners use their foreign guns and cannons to tear apart our superstition of martial arts. You probably don't know." Li Fan explained, "There are martial arts masters in China, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other masters overseas. This was a special world, and the people in this world abided by their own rules. In that era, there was also a war in this world. Many Huaxia martial artists were killed or injured, and the Western powerhouses were unable to invade. However, Jianghu won't be able to handle the following matters. Back then, the Wolin had blocked the invasion of the Western experts. However, the government back then was too incompetent. No matter how powerful the martial arts world was, it was impossible to influence the government. Those are just reasons." Zhang Guang curled his lips. "Isn't there a saying that the greater the power, the greater the responsibility? Since you have the ability, don't avoid the responsibility. If you can't bear this responsibility, don't say that you're capable. I won't be able to change your mind." Li Fan continued, "But this journey is still long, and it's hard not to smoke. It's better not to follow this kind of rule." Good. Lu Bing's face lit up with joy. He immediately took out a cigarette, lit another one, and took a deep puff. Although Zhang Guang was unhappy, he couldn't say anything. Because before they came out, Zhou Tai had already divided them into ranks. Although Li Fan was not part of the government, his authority and rank were higher than the two of them. He was the person in charge of this transportation. Zhou Tai had said that he would listen to Li Fan's command. However, Zhang Guang was still unconvinced in his heart. "Speaking of which, there won't be anyone causing trouble along the way, right?" Lu Bing took a puff and slowly said, "After all, this is the National Security Agency's transportation. No one would dare to covet it, right?" "There are many people coveting it," Li Fan said. "This thing, not only our own people, but also people from other countries. What we're sending is a hot potato." "Are you exaggerating?" Lu Bing and Zhang Guang looked at each other. Although the two of them were escorting, they didn't know what they were escorting. They only saw a black can in the car. But I can't tell you the details. In short, if there's any danger, don't get out of this car. I will protect you. Don't look down on us. The two of us are also from the army." Zhang Guang was especially unconvinced. He pulled out the pistol on his waist and tested it. "Back then, I was a drug trafficker at the border. I don't care about such a small situation." What you'll see later might not be a small situation. Li Fan still kindly reminded them, "It's best to be careful. You only need to worry about yourself. You don't need to worry about us." Zhang Guang was still unconvinced. "When the time comes, don't ask us to protect you. Don't talk so much." Lu Bing gave him a push. Only then did Zhang Guang stop talking. Li Fan also didn't say much. He just looked at his surroundings. He wasn't cultivating his true qi. Instead, he was releasing his true qi to envelop the entire car. He was sensing the surrounding movements. Every movement in the surroundings couldn't escape Li Fan's five senses. At this moment, a drone flew over and flew above the car, following them all the way. Suddenly, a golden war god popped out from the car. He directly raised his hand and slapped the drone away as if he was swatting a mosquito. Bang! The drone broke into pieces in the distance. The war god slowly returned to the car. In a van in the distance, a group of Americans shouted in English. "Oh no, he destroyed our drone. What the hell is that? Superpower." "No matter what it is, X must get it." Not far away, more than 10 kites were floating in the sky. Each kite had a ninja on it, staring at the car on the road. In other places, There were also super agents from various countries. Their eyes were on Li Fan's car. "They're almost here." Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes and said this sentence, causing Zhang Guang and Lu Bing to feel baffled. "What's coming?" "Nothing, you two don't get out of the car. Just stay in the car." Li Fan took out his walkie-talkie and ordered, "Yan Kai, protect the car. Old Guan, get ready to move." "Roger." A pair of funny voices came out of the earpiece. Then, Old Guan jumped out of the back of the car and jumped to the top of the boxcar, stomping on it with a bang. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang frowned. They turned on the camera and looked at the situation on the car. A man wearing a green robe and golden armor stood there with a crescent blade in his hand. Chapter 808. What's going on? Lu Bing and Zhang Guang were still confused. Why did Guan Wenbao get on the roof of the car for no reason? Before they could figure it out, rows of black cross-shaped darts fell from the sky and rained down on the car. "What's that?" The two NSA plainclothes agents were shocked and didn't know what was going on. The row of darts had already reached Guan Wenbao's head. Guan Wenbao did not move, but Yan Kai, who was standing in the car, began to use Tai Chi Gong. Tai Chi Zhen Qi filled the car. Before the darts could land on Guan Wenbao, they were immediately pulled by Tai Chi force and began to spin in the air, as if a whirlpool had appeared. The darts spun a few times and finally flew back into the air. The kites behind the ninjas that were tied to the kites were immediately pierced, and one by one, they fell to the ground. However, these ninjas threw out their hooks and hooked onto the car. Then, they leaped towards the car. This time, Yan Kai deliberately did not use Tai Chi Gong and allowed them to get close to the car. Guan Wenbao picked up his crescent blade and looked at a ninja who had fallen in front of him. Then he swung his blade horizontally. Puff! The ninja was cut in half in the air and turned into two pieces of wood that fell to the ground. However, Guan Wenbao did not even look back. He turned around and swung his blade again. The ninja who had just appeared behind him was immediately cut in half. Blood and internal organs flew everywhere. Guan Wenbao casually wiped his face. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang were dumbfounded. What the hell is this? Ninjas? Do these things really exist? That's impossible. While they were trying to figure out what was going on, 3 more ninjas jumped out from both sides. 2 of them had iron claws in their hands and one was holding a tachi. They attacked Guan Wenbao together. However, Guan Wenbao's expression did not change. He turned around and used total annihilation. His blade was covered in flames. Ninjas could use the substitution technique to escape an attack. 6 pieces of wood fell on the roof of the car and were quickly burned to ashes. The 3 ninjas had already landed on the roof of the car. They all stood behind Guan Wenbao and stabbed at his waist. Guan Wenbao stepped on the brakes and the car swayed. The 3 ninjas immediately jolted. Guan Wenbao's Yenyue saber followed up and directly chopped the 3 people into 2. This terrifying attack and power made Lu Bing and Zhang Guang, who were still doubting him, speechless. Terrifying, Lu Bingyan's hand was burning, but he didn't notice. Is this real? Zhang Guang was also speechless. His hands trembled as he watched the video. This battle had subverted his worldview. As for Guan Wenbao, he stood on top of the carriage, fighting alone against the Japanese ninjas. There were more than 10 ninjas, but 4 or 5 of them were killed in an instant. The rest could not even get close to Guan Wenbao. 2 ninjas decided to ignore Guan Wenbao and tried to puncture the car's tires. However, Guan Wenbao seemed to be very observant. He did not even need to look back. He directly swung his saber. The saber energy flew out and cut 2 ninjas who were sneaking close to the car's tires in half. With the presence of Wenbao, no one could get close to the container car. Who is this guy? Guan Yu's descendant, Guan Wenbao. Li Fan introduced. He is a senior escort of our Fifan escort agency. This is his name card. If there's an opportunity, please take care of his business. Li Fan really took out 2 name cards and stuffed them into their hands. Our escort agency's price is fair. Please do us the honor. First, definitely, Lu Bing answered almost subconsciously. Then, his hand was burned by the cigarette butt, and he screamed in pain. He seemed to wake up a little and realize that he was not in a dream. Guan Wenbao continued to fight against the ninjas. It could be said that he was torturing them. Since it's such an important thing, they should not send out such low-level ninjas. Li Fan did not even need to look at the screen to know what was going on outside. How strange. As soon as he finished speaking, a ninja wearing white ninja clothing suddenly fell from the sky. This ninja jumped down from tens of meters in the air without any obstacles. He passed through the air and landed on top of Guan Wenbao's head in the blink of an eye. The ninja pulled down his mask and revealed his mouth. He actually spat a mouthful of crimson flames at Guan Wenbao. However, Guan Wenbao did not care. He raised his crescent blade and swung it above his head. The fireball was directly split into two halves by Guan Wenbao's saber. The flames scattered to both sides, and sparks flew into the sky. The ninja had already landed in front of Guan Wenbao, and the katana in his hand quickly slashed towards Guan Wenbao. Pa! Guan Wenbao hastily used his katana to block it. Sparks flew out, and a bloody wound appeared on his shoulder. This ninja's blade still managed to injure Guan Wenbao. This ninja does have some ability. Li Fan praised. Looks like he is not an ordinary ninja. He should have some fame. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang could not answer for Li Fan. They did not understand this problem either. Their many years of worldview were quickly being overturned, causing them to be a little confused. Old Guan, finish this quickly. There are still others watching the show. Li Fan instructed through the walkie-talkie. Guan Wenbao's answer was concise and to the point. He raised his crescent blade again and slashed at the Jiaonin's face with a wide swing. There was no need to introduce Guan Wenbao's strength. The blood of the ninjas on the carriage had already proved everything. However, the ninja raised his own katana horizontally and blocked the top of his head. He actually used this slender blade to block Guan Wenbao's blade. Huh! Li Fan was shocked once again. What kind of strength did Guan Wenbao have? Even he did not dare to say that he could take a slash from him head-on. But this ninja was actually able to do it. It was truly surprising. The ninja carried a katana and clanged against Guan Wenbao for a few moves on the roof of the carriage. However, Guan Wenbao's strength was so strong. After a few moves, the ninja's arm was already numb and sore, and he could not use any strength. In the end, Guan Wenbao raised his katana and the ninja finally took a step back and jumped off the carriage. He landed on the ground and walked quickly, relying on the strength of his legs to follow behind the carriage. At the same time, he grabbed a cross-shaped dart from behind him and threw it at Guan Wenbao. The cross-shaped dart seemed to come alive in his hands, drawing a unique arc in the air. Two darts were aimed at Guan Wenbao's temple from the side, while the other two were aimed at the van's tires. Guan Wenbao swept his katana horizontally and knocked away the cross-shaped dart. The cross-shaped dart that was aimed at the tires was blown away by Yan Kai's Tai Chi skill. It did not hurt the carriage either. Looking at the ninja again, it seemed that he was finally losing his cool. He pulled down his mask again and blew a fireball at the container car towards the carriage. Chapter 809. The back door of the carriage was pushed open, and Yan Kai, who was wearing a white robe, stood there. He stretched out his hands and made a circle with his palms. The fireball seemed to be attracted and instantly flew into Yan Kai's palm. It was carried by both of his hands and constantly rotated. Yan Kai seemed to be playing some kind of trick. He separated his hands, and the fireball was actually divided into two balls. The fireball kept spinning around his hands, and then he pushed it out. The two fireballs spun and bounced back towards the superior ninja. Looking at his expression, the superior ninja was a little moved, as if he did not expect that his fireball could be bounced back. Bang bang! The superior ninja dodged the two fireballs and exploded on the ground, setting off red flames. The superior ninja's eyes became serious. He had already understood that these two were not easy to deal with. It was said that China was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. He did not believe it in the past, but now he believed it. With these two people guarding the carriage, it was like an iron bucket, and there was no way to break in. Behind the superior ninja, there were 4 genin. They were all survivors, and did not die under the big sword of the red-faced man. The only ninjutsu that the superior ninja knew was the fireball technique, but it was ineffective against the people in the carriage. Although their bodies had been strengthened by genetic drugs, they still could not do anything to Guan Wenbao, who was on the roof of the carriage. Guan Wenbao stood there with his Yenyue blade in hand. True qi surged from his body, and his green robe fluttered in the wind. Li Fan was still sitting steadily in the carriage, and continued to rest with his eyes closed. It was as if the battle outside had nothing to do with him at all. "Don't worry, it's just some small fish and shrimp. Don't worry too much," Li Fan said. Okay." Lu Bing and Zhang Guang were both dumbfounded and did not know what to say. The amount of knowledge the two of them possessed was no longer enough. "Old Guan, get rid of those ninjas. There will be other guests in a while," Li Fan ordered. "Okay." Guan Wenbao nodded. He picked up his Yenyue blade and whistled. One of the side doors of the boxcar opened, and a strong warhorse leapt out of the compartment and jumped out. Guan Wenbao flipped over and landed on the horse. He rode on his beloved Lisa and followed behind the minivan. Swinging his crescent blade, he killed a few ninjas. Only the Jonin managed to escape. He jumped up and hid far away, looking at the people around him who had been chopped into pieces. The Jonin hung on a tree beside the road, not daring to jump down. Guan Wenbao, on the other hand, turned his horse around and ignored the container carriage. He raised his crescent blade and charged at the superior ninja. Jonin was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Why was this guy coming for him? Guan Wenbao, on the other hand, had already chopped the Jonin in half along with the tree. 2 pieces of broken wood fell to the ground. The Jonin had already used the substitution technique to escape. However, Guan Wenbao did not hesitate for even half a second. He immediately turned his horse around and swung his Yenyue blade, cutting the Jonin who was about to sneak up on him in half. At this time, the minivan had already driven far away. At the same time, 8 motorcyclists rode 8 Harley-Davidson motorcycles and chased after the minivan. Probably because Guan Wenbao was not around, the 8 motorcyclists dared to go forward. Each motorcyclist held a shotgun in their right hand and aimed at the minivan in front of them. These people were planning to take the minivan by force. Guan Wenbao asked Lisa to turn around, whipped his horse, and chased after them. Lisa was well-trained and her limbs were strong. She ran faster and faster on the road and soon caught up to the minivan. The motorcyclists did not dare to delay and quickly opened fire. The broken shrapnel scattered towards the minivan. Yen Kai, who was standing in the carriage, smiled evilly. He stretched out his hands in front of him. An invisible aura spread in front of him and all the shrapnel stopped and floated in front of Yen Kai. "Sorry, this road is blocked," Yen Kai said and pushed his hand forward. All the shrapnel flew out and bounced back to the motorcyclists. Bang, bang, bang. At least 4 of the motorcyclists were hit by bullets and flew out like sieves. Guan Wenbao had already caught up. He raised his sword and cut the remaining 4 motorcyclists in half. They were thrown out of the road along with the minivan. The door of the minivan was lowered and Lisa jumped into the car. "I'm back," Guan Wenbao reported, a total of 12 ninjas and 8 motorcyclists, all killed. Guan Wenbao thought to himself, what a pity for those Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Other than riding horses, Guan Wenbao was also a motorcyclist. Yen Kai also owned a car, but it was an electric scooter that he had kept as a treasure. These dregs, with such little combat power, they want to touch this Taoist bodyguard. Yen Kai curled his lips. "This Taoist is the chosen one, you bunch of dregs." Yen Kai ridiculed them, but Guan Wenbao comforted his Lisa and could not be bothered with this chunibyu. "Got it." Li Fan put down the walkie-talkie and smiled at the 2 people from the National Security Bureau. "Just a bunch of demons and monsters, I've already dealt with them." Okay. Zhang Guang felt that he had forgotten how to hold a gun. This man called Li Fan was a bit too scary. Not to mention his martial arts, just his 2 subordinates were 2 fierce generals. And after killing so many people, Li Fan did not even bat an eyelid. Instead, he talked and laughed as if he was not killing people but chickens and dogs. This time, the two people from the National Security Bureau finally understood why Zhou Tai wanted Li Fan to escort this thing. With him around, no one could get close to their minivan. Are we safe? Zhang Guang felt that in front of Li Fan he could not lift his head at all, and his figure suddenly became much smaller. He hesitated for a moment, but still could not help but ask. Basically, we are safe, Li Fan said, but there are still many people watching us, and they will appear at any time. You? How did you know? Lu Bing stretched out his trembling hand, wanting to smoke a cigarette, but after thinking for a long time, he put it down. Because of my true energy. Li Fan said honestly, my true energy can cover a distance of about 100 meters. Within this 100 meters, even the slightest movement of grass in the wind cannot escape my detection. Oh my God! Are all martial artists so powerful? Of course not, martial artists are also divided into levels. Li Fan thought, after he re-understood the Qilin palm, his strength once again increased, and he was already standing on the doorstep of the 9 dragons' power. As long as he could break through the 10 dragons' power, he would be able to step into the realm of a generation's master. Murong Ying was already standing there, waiting for him. It seems that with Brother Li here, no one can touch us. Lu Bing seemed to be a little relieved, but at this time, Li Fan suddenly raised his head. Our trouble is coming. Chapter 8:10. No one seemed to be able to move the car. There was only one person who was dressed in a plain white cheongsam, standing in the middle of the road and looking at the oncoming car. Stop the car, Li Fan instructed, but the driver did not listen to him. Before he set off, Zhou Tai had already instructed the driver to stop the car. There was only one mission, and that was to not stop the car before reaching the destination for any reason. Not only did the driver not stop the car, but he also stepped on the accelerator and sped up. The entire car was like a bowl that was full of food as it rammed into the woman in the cheongsam. However, the woman was unmoved. She simply stretched out her hand and waved it at the car. A cherry blossom sword energy swept towards the car. Li Fan furrowed his brows and stepped on the box car. The true chi flowed along the bottom of the car and hit the ground. The car flew up and spun in the air before being controlled by Li Fan using his true chi. It leaped over the head of the woman in the cheongsam and landed behind her. At the moment when the car flew over their heads, Li Fan and the woman in the cheongsam looked at each other. They had different gazes. One was determined while the other was helpless. Protect the car and don't come out. Li Fan ordered, opened the door, and walked out of the car. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai knew that she was not an enemy they could deal with. Only the little tyrant, Li Fan, could. Who in the world among those of the same generation could fight against her? There were probably 2 people in this world. One was the leader of the cult, Li Wei, and the other was the little tyrant, Li Fan. Are you here to rob the darts? Li Fan stood there and looked at the woman in the cheongsam opposite him. I am here to punish you. Murong Ying's eyes flashed with a trace of sorrow, but she became firm again and said without hesitation, it's strange. Come to think of it, it's strange. I, Li Fan, believe that I've always done things in an open and above-board manner. What have I done wrong? Why would I trouble you, the Martial Arts Alliance Master, to personally come and punish a junior like me? You're not some Jianghu junior. Murong Ying replied. The little overlord, Li Fan, is famous in the pugilistic world. There is no one who doesn't know of him. As she spoke, she gently bit her lip. But you shouldn't have been so domineering and committed a crime that should be punished by both humans and gods. I would like to ask, what have I done wrong? You don't want to admit it? Fine, let me ask you. Murong Ying stared at Li Fan's eyes. Have you killed the young master of Fong Clan, the young master of Luo Ma Ancient Road, Fong Long? That's right, kill him. Li Fan looked straight into Murong Ying's eyes. This is true. Why? Because he deserves to die. Li Fan's reply caused Murong Ying to collapse. Her body trembled slightly as she tried to suppress her emotions. Ooh, if the pugilistic world should not be decided by you. Who should be killed, who should not be killed, should be decided by the world. The world? Who is the world? Li Fan laughed. The world should be your Murong clan's head. If he says black, then it's black. If he says white, then it's white. Since I am here today, I have nothing to say. In order to snatch someone else's wife, that Fong Long massacred an entire village of nearly 100 people. If I don't kill this kind of person, should I let him live? Do you have any evidence for what you said? Everyone is dead. Where would the evidence come from? Li Fan curled his lips. It's fine as long as I know that I have a clear conscience. But you, before Murong Ing could finish, 4 men wearing black iron masks suddenly appeared behind her. These 4 men stood there, flipped their hands, and their palms turned black. Li Fan frowned slightly. What kind of martial arts is this? Mafia? The 4 of them did not speak at all as they pounced towards Li Fan and started beating him up. Just in time. Li Fan clasped his hands behind his back and did not move at all. But behind him, a golden red great war god popped out and directly waved his palm, slapping 2 Murong clan steel guards. Those 2 steel guards were sent flying for over 10 meters in the air, but they steadily landed on the ground. Stepping on the ground, they were not injured at all. The other 2 steel guards had already rushed in front of Li Fan. 4 black palms slapped towards Li Fan's body. The great war god turned into a golden armor and covered Li Fan's body, causing him to take this black palm head-on. Bang! Li Fan's body flew out and smashed a boulder on the side of the road. The rubble fell to the ground and scattered into a pile. Li Fan frowned. This black palm is really powerful. What kind of martial arts is this? Moreover, the wind from his great war god's palm is not something that an ordinary martial artist can withstand. But the 2 people from before did not suffer any injuries. Regardless of defense or combat power, they are a cut above others. Those 4 people should have reached the next level of strength, but their power is very strange, causing him a lot of trouble. While Li Fan was thinking, the 4 steel guards uniformly rushed forward and slapped their black palms towards Li Fan. Li Fan snorted. If it was him in the past, these 4 people's black palms might have already subdued him. But Li Fan has already grown up. He stretched out his right hand and his true chi directly erupted. In front of him, the 4 people's bodies were caught. The 4 steel guards' palms abruptly stopped in front of Li Fan. The black light in their palms was still spinning, but they could not do anything to Li Fan. At the same time, Li Fan's left hand clenched into a fist and directly punched out. The fist aura swept across the 4 steel guards' bodies. Bang, 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 bang. 4 muffled sounds rang out. The 4 steel guards were all sent flying by Li Fan and fell to the ground. Li Fan threw out his extraordinary sword. This black sword flew into the air and constantly spun. Li Fan pointed down and 4 sword shadows separated and flew towards the 4 steel guards. 2 sword shadows pierced through the heads of 2 steel guards. The other 2 steel guards reacted faster and used their arms to block the sword shadows. However, one of their arms was also broken. Li Fan's sword chi was almost invincible. Even the steel guard's iron shirt could not withstand the sharpness of Li Fan's sword chi. The other 2 steel guards did not have the slightest bit of fear. Once again, they raised their black palms and attacked Li Fan from both sides. Li Fan's body suddenly expanded by 30%, bursting his shirt. His left hand directly slapped out and smashed the left steel guard's skull. With a finger of his right hand, a sword shadow instantly pierced the other steel guard's skull. His body was sent flying and nailed to a billboard by the side of the road. Li Fan easily dealt with the 4 steel guards. His body slowly returned to its original state. The black extraordinary sword was still flying above Li Fan's head like a loyal guard. Abnormal bone changing. Turning illusory into reality, Murong Ying's voice was a little shocked. Although the latter is not yet mature, there are already some outlines. Difen, I really underestimated you back then. Chapter 8:11. When Murong Ing first met Li Fan, it was in a game called League of Legends. Murong AI was the one who introduced him to this game. In Murong's words, although her martial arts were unparalleled in the world, It was not necessarily the same on the internet. Murong-ing was born with an uncomfortable personality, so there was no way she could take it lying down. She immediately made a bet with Murong AI and played the most popular game of the time, League of Legends. As a result, Murong-ing lost miserably. In order to regain her sister's dignity and the pride of a martial arts leader, Murong-ing embarked on a road of no return. On this road, she met Li Fan, a man who was full of flowery words. After knowing that she was a girl, he kept calling her wife. Originally, she wanted to find out who he was and punish this flowery man. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be a pure young body. Murong-ing, who wholeheartedly contributed to Murong's family, found Li Fan and boarded his pirate ship. From then on, Murong-ing embarked on a road of no return. Li Fan grew from a rookie in the pugilistic world to an expert who was close to the level of a grandmaster. This process was really fast beyond her imagination. Although Murong-ing did not succumb to fate, she believed that a person had absolute luck. In Li Fan, Murong-ing saw great luck. It's not like turning the void into reality. Li Fan said, I just learned a little bit of superficial knowledge and can only condense a little shadow. As his voice fell, Li Fan stretched out his hand. 7 sword shadows fell from the extraordinary sword and floated in front of his palm. You and Imperial Concubine Zhou have some influence on me. Your right arm, was it also Imperial Concubine Zhou who helped you? Murong-ing looked at Li Fan's right hand and asked. She was an intelligent person. How was it possible for a person to regrow a broken arm? Humans were not geckos. But in this world, there was only one person who could do it, and that was Imperial Concubine Zhou, Zhou Wanshu. She could even create her own body by turning nothingness into reality. You could say that. Li Fan nodded, but the arm she made for me was torn off by me. When have I, Li Fan, ever accepted the kindness of my enemies? I used the alien bone swap to reconstruct this arm. As Li Fan spoke, he opened and closed his right palm. Powerful true energy gathered in his right hand. Li Fan pinched the billboard in the distance, and with the effect of his true chi, the billboard was squashed flat by Li Fan. You are indeed stronger than I expected. Murong-ing looked deeply at Li Fan. You just killed my family's 4 iron guards. My father is full of confidence in them. Once you defeat them, then your enemy will be me. I can't not fight. I can't not fight. Murong-ing said, stretched out her 2 fingers and pointed at Li Fan. The cherry blossoms fell from the sky, slowly rotating behind Murong-ing, dancing in the air, very beautiful. Okay. Li Fan took a deep breath. He was ready. You are about to step into the Grandmaster realm. Murong-ing said, in today's battle, I will not be lenient. Good. Li Fan seemed to be waiting for this battle. He and Murong-ing would eventually decide who was the winner. Last time, Li Fan and Murong-ing had a battle, but it could not be considered the winner. Although Li Fan's pride was hurt, he had to admit that Murong-ing went easy on him. But this time was different. Li Fan's strength had improved a lot. He could let Murong-ing go all out and fight with him to her heart's content. Murong Villa, Chief of Wulin, Murong-ing. Please enlighten me. Murong-ing bowed to Li Fan, which symbolized the beginning of the fight. Fifan Escort Agency, Little Overlord, Li Fan. Please enlighten me. Li Fan straightforwardly returned the bow. The two stood face to face. It seemed that neither of them wanted to make a move. But Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai knew that the two of them were waiting for the other to make the first move. There was a saying, the first to strike has the upper hand, and the second to strike will suffer. However, if it was a martial arts battle, this sentence would not be valid. Whoever made the first move would easily expose their weakness. When experts fought, 1 or 2 moves could determine the winner. Murong-ing and Li Fan were worried that the other party would discover their weakness. Therefore, neither of them made a move. They were waiting for the other to make the first move. The van was parked at the side. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang could only watch helplessly. Neither of them dared to speak. There were many people hiding in the dark, watching them fight. The two forces were competing with each other. Li Fan and Murong-ing were still waiting for an opportunity. A gust of wind blew past. Li Fan blinked his eyes slightly. At this moment, a large amount of cherry blossom true energy flew over and wrapped around Li Fan. Li Fan snorted coldly. He stretched out his right hand and pointed at himself. 49 sword shadows flew out from the extraordinary sword and landed uniformly on Li Fan's left and right, blocking the cherry blossoms. At the same time, he took a step forward. As he moved, more sword shadows fell and helped him separate the cherry blossoms in front of him. Li Fan walked over step by step and slowly squeezed into Murong-ing. Murong-ing frowned. She activated more cherry blossom sword energies and sent them toward Li Fan. But Li Fan's sword shadows were even more concentrated. They kept falling from the sky and kept separating Murong-ing's cherry blossoms. Murong-ing watched as Li Fan walked towards her step by step with the cherry blossoms on his head. Li Fan was unmoved. Murong-ing's attack seemed to have no effect on him. Murong-ing finally put away her cherry blossoms. She gently moved her fingers and the cherry blossoms formed a gigantic cherry blossom sword in the air. It was more than 10 meters long and it descended from the sky, cleaving down at Li Fan's head. Li Fan stood there without raising his head. He only extended his right hand. The gigantic cherry blossom sword was forcefully controlled by Li Fan's true energy. It stopped above Li Fan's head. Murong-ing's body trembled slightly. Li Fan's control over his true energy had already reached such a level? She extended her left hand and used her true energy to control the cherry blossom sword, causing it to descend another 10 centimeters. Li Fan raised his right hand and increased his control over his true energy. The sword stopped once again and was pushed up by Li Fan by 5 centimeters. The two of them were in a stalemate on top of the sword, competing with each other's inner strength through the sword. Murong-ing was getting more and more alarmed. She had the power of 10 dragons while Li Fan only had the power of 9 dragons. Although there was only a difference of 1 dragon, because they were at the level of a generation's grandmaster, the difference was like heaven and earth. And under such circumstances, Li Fan was actually able to contend against her inner strength. Unbelievable! At this time, a voice came into Murong-ing's ears. Murong-ing, kill him. Chapter 8:12. When Murong-ing heard this voice, her body immediately froze. Isn't this my father's voice? But immediately after, Murong-ing's eyes suddenly lost focus. She suddenly stopped and looked at Li Fan again. Murong-ing. Li Fan felt that something was wrong. Murong-ing stretched out her hands towards Li Fan and pressed down. The cherry blossom greatsword suddenly sank a lot and fell towards Li Fan's head. The true qi in Li Fan's right hand was torn apart. He was unable to withstand the power of the greatsword and could only let the greatsword slash down. The great war god popped out from Li Fan's body. He stretched out his hands and fiercely pushed the falling greatsword. Clang! The greatsword was pushed to the side and then stabbed into the ground at the side. It set off a sword qi and rushed towards Li Fan's body. Li Fan's body was sent flying and flipped in the air before falling back to the ground. Murong-ing chased after him and stabbed towards Li Fan's throat with her 2 fingers. These 2 fingers were definitely able to cut Li Fan's throat. Li Fan frowned. Murong-ing was not her usual self and was now using killing moves everywhere. Her body had completely lost that familiar feeling. It was as if he was facing a stranger that he had never seen before. In the blink of an eye, the 2 fingers had already reached Li Fan's throat. In the next second, they would be able to pierce in and tear apart Li Fan's throat bone. But Li Fan was not to be trifled with. The great war god behind him had already struck out with his palm towards Murong-ing. Murong-ing's body was wrapped by cherry blossoms. The great war god's palm struck the cherry blossoms. With a boom, the cherry blossoms wrapped around Murong-ing and were sent flying. And Li Fan was also spared and did not have his throat cut by Murong-ing's sword fingers. Li Fan's attack contained the pure power of 9 dragons and was very effective. Murong-ing crashed into the field next to her, creating a circular crater in the field. Murong-ing, what's wrong? Li Fan looked at Murong-ing, not knowing what had happened to her. Murong-ing didn't say anything. She appeared in front of Li Fan in a flash and attacked Li Fan continuously with cherry blossom sword energy. As the current leader of the martial arts world, her martial arts were not to be trifled with. Most martial fighters would not dare to face this attack head-on. But Li Fan dared. As he stood there, the god of war on his back waved his palms and executed a set of palm techniques with great vigor. He was actually on par with Murong-ing. Although Murong-ing was powerful, it seemed that she couldn't do anything to Li Fan for a while. At this moment, Murong-ing suddenly showed an opening. Li Fan subconsciously let the god of war's palm touch her. If the god of war's palm landed 1 centimeter more, Murong-ing's head would be minced into meat paste. Murong-ing stood there and didn't seem to have any intention of dodging. Li Fan forcefully retracted his palm. True qi flowed in reverse and his internal organs were injured, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Murong-ing stepped forward and poked Li Fan's heart with 2 fingers. Puff! Red blood blossomed from Li Fan's back. This sword finger had the power to pierce through the heart. Guan Wenbao and Yen Kai were shocked. Li Fan slowly knelt on the ground and covered his heart. Murong-ing took a few steps back. She seemed to have regained her senses. She looked at Li Fan, who was kneeling in front of her, and then looked at her bloody fingers. What is going on? Murong-ing couldn't believe her eyes. At this moment, 2 iron guards wearing iron masks appeared out of nowhere. The 2 of them walked toward the van and were ready to snatch the goods. At that moment, a lot of people suddenly appeared and surrounded the container car. Murong-ing furrowed her brows and looked at the uninvited guests. 3 foreigners in silver uniforms stood there, each of them wearing custom-made black sunglasses. The 3 of them were from America's Team A. All of them were soldiers with superpowers trained by the government. Everyone in Team A was named after playing cards. The captain's chest had the A of Spades logo. The 2 members were J of Spades and K of Spades, respectively. From behind the bushes, 5 knights in gorgeous armor slowly walked out. Each of them was riding a similarly armored warhorse. The man in the lead was wearing a golden armor, while the 4 behind him were wearing silver armor to distinguish their ranks. These people were Knights of the Round Table from England. Their goal was also to snatch the X. That wasn't the end. From the other side of the road, 4 strong men wearing ancient Roman armor walked over. They wore helmets with red caltrops on their heads. Their upper bodies were bare, and they only wore a pair of black underpants with a cape hanging behind them. Each of them carried a sharp spear in their right hand and a sturdy round shield in their left hand. Their bodies were filled with a thick murderous aura, like wild beasts. Roman warriors from Greece. A few ninjas in red ninja clothes were also hiding in the trees beside them. They were different from the ninjas from before. These ninjas didn't have any aura, but their eyes were like those of wild beasts. These ninjas were meticulously trained by Japan's Beast Ninja Army. They were first-class assassination experts. 3 soldiers from Germany also came out of an SUV next to them and walked over step by step. As they walked, the metal boxes on their backs suddenly popped open. Then, they turned into pieces of metal armor and wore it on their bodies. In a short while, the 3 of them were armed up to their butts. They were like futuristic robot warriors. Germany's tank army, a monster army built with high technology. Chapter 8:13. What a joke! The Iron Guard coldly snorted, "My China is a great country. Since when is it your turn to talk nonsense? Get lost." The 2 of them wanted to move forward, but 4 Roman soldiers with spears and shields blocked their way. "You want to stop us?" The Iron Guard laughed, "Just by relying on you demons and monsters." With that, the 2 of them shot out their black palms. The 4 Roman soldiers formed a group and combined their shields to block the 2's black palms. Bang! The shields lit up with a black light, and the 2 Iron Guards took a step back. The 2 Iron Guards were obviously shocked. Their black palms were invincible, but they couldn't even shake the shields of these barbarians? How was this possible? At this moment, the 5 Knights of the Round Table suddenly rushed towards them. The 5 knight spears carried the power of a charge as they pierced towards the 2 Iron Guards. The two Iron Guards wanted to dodge, but Team A's Spade J activated his ability and glanced at the two of them. The bodies of the two Iron Guards froze like two statues. This was Spade J's ability, Petrifying Gaze. Anyone who was seen by him could be frozen for 2 seconds according to his will. 2 seconds might not be long, but it was enough for them. The 5 long spears stabbed into their bodies, and the 2 of them were sent flying. These 5 Knights of the Round Table were not just for show. Even if they had practiced the Iron Shirt for decades, their defense was still torn apart by the long spears. The Iron Guard who had been talking was sent flying by 4 silver spears. The other Iron Guard was in a miserable state. The Golden Knight's spear pierced through his chest and hung on the spear. The surviving Iron Guard was shocked. These Knights of the Round Table actually tore apart their Iron Shirt? Murong-ing stood at the side, her brows tightly knitted. Sure enough, it was impossible to look down on the heroes of the world. There was always someone better than you out there. The remaining Iron Guard took a deep breath and used the power of his black palms. The surrounding air fluctuated, and he seemed to be preparing for a big move. Yet, send it to me. 4 beast ninjas suddenly appeared out of thin air. Each of them had a hook in their hands and hooked onto Tetsuya's body. The 4 of them locked him up. 4 chains bound Metal Guard's body, making him unable to move again. At the same time, 3 soldiers from the German tank rushed over. Their shoulders exploded with energy, increasing the power of their fists. From 3 directions, they struck the body of the Iron Guard. Poof! Iron Guard spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were bloodshot. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were all destroyed. The strength of the 3 German tanks was truly heaven-defying. Steel Guard slowly knelt on the ground, blood flowing from his 7 apertures. He had been killed instantly. Yenkai, keep an eye on this place. I'm going out for a walk. Guan Wenbao picked up his crescent blade and jumped out of the carriage on his warhorse, Lisa. When the 5 Knights of the Round Table saw Guan Wenbao, they immediately turned their horses around and charged towards him. Just in time, Guan Wenbao laughed. He dragged his crescent blade and charged towards the 5 Knights of the Round Table. Lisa's hooves kicked up dust. She stepped on a wisp of green smoke and appeared in front of the Knights of the Round Table in an instant. Guan Wenbao waved his crescent blade and exchanged 2 blows with the Golden Armored Knight. The armor on the shoulder of the Golden Armored Knight was shattered by Guan Wenbao's blade, and a scratch appeared on Guan Wenbao's calf. Blood splattered on the ground. Guan Wenbao continued to charge forward. The 4 Knights of the Silver Armored Knight were quickly cut down by his blade. The 2 soldiers turned their horses around and continued to look at each other. Guan Wenbao once again dragged his crescent blade, while the Golden Armored Knight once again propped up his lance. The 2 of them whipped their horses again, ready for another wave of attacks. At this time, Spade J's ability recovered. He glanced at Guan Wenbao. Even Guan Wenbao and his horse were frozen in place, unable to move. The Golden Armored Knight didn't have the slightest bit of chivalry. He raised his lance and stabbed towards Guan Wenbao. Yenkai stood up and reached out his hand to pull the Golden Armored Knight. Tai Chi Divine Art activated. The Golden Armored Knight's body was pulled down from his horse and fell to the ground. The 4 beast ninjas jumped over. Each of them threw their hooks and hooked them onto the body of the Golden Armored Knight. The 4 of them pulled in 4 different directions, and the Golden Armored Knight's body was directly dismembered. This was a battlefield. There were no so-called allies. Once they exposed their weaknesses, they would be mercilessly slaughtered by the others. The 3 German chariots turned around and walked towards Yenkai. At the same time, the 4 Roman soldiers were about to throw their lances at the defenseless Murong-ing. But at this time, Li Fan, who had been kneeling on the ground, suddenly raised his head. He shouted, and a golden light suddenly fell from the sky. The world seemed to be shaken by this golden light, and the ground suddenly trembled. Murong-ing, clad in golden flying lion armor, stood there with an insufferably powerful aura. She threw the flying lion shield in her hand. The shield spun in the air, and with a clank, the 4 flying lances were deflected in midair. The flying lion shield spun in the air and fell back into her hand. Looking at the golden armored version of herself, Murong-ing was a little stunned. Is this the version of me that Li Fan mentioned, the good guy card? Looking at her appearance, she is almost no different from me. This is really magical, really unbelievable. As for this flying lion version of Murong-ing, she does not know any martial arts, but she has powerful strength and defense. After picking up her shield, flying lion Murong-ing took a step forward. The golden sword in her right hand directly slashed down on a Roman soldier's shield. The Roman soldier's shield immediately cracked, and even his body was cut in half by flying lion Murong-ing. The rest of the Roman soldiers were shocked. Their shields were made of a special metal, but it was broken by a sword. On the other hand, flying lion Murong-ing continued to swing her great sword and instantly cut down 2 Roman warriors. Only 1 Roman soldier was left, but he did not retreat. Instead, he roared at flying lion Murong-ing, threw away his lance, and pulled out a broadsword from his waist. Then, he rushed towards flying lion Murong-ing. Flying lion Murong-ing also raised her shield and prepared to fight. But at this moment, an ice thorn rose from the ground and directly pierced the Roman soldier's body, nailing him to the ground. King of Spades slowly retracted his right hand that was emitting cold air. In the blink of an eye, the British Knights of the Round Table and the Greek and Roman soldiers were all killed. Chapter 8:14. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal interests. At this moment, the meaning of this sentence was truly reflected. The people from the other countries did not dare to make any moves, lest they reveal any flaws and become the reason for their own deaths. They did not want to die, nor did they want to withdraw from this battle. This battle had just begun. Li Fan was kneeling there, while Guan Wenbao was riding a warhorse, guarding beside Li Fan. Although his heart had been hit by Murong-ing's finger sword, a powerful true qi instantly filled his body, protecting Li Fan's heart at the critical moment, saving his life. The true qi in his body and the abnormality bone changing worked together to repair Li Fan's injuries. He also ate a rejuvenation pill made by Luo Xiaofeng. Luo Xiaofeng was the treasure of Fifan, and his pills had a strong effect on the agency. This was the same as going out to fight monsters. You had to bring red and blue pills with you. After Li Fan swallowed the rejuvenation pill, he threw a rejuvenation pill to Murong-ing. Murong-ing stood by the side, and the other flying lion version of her guarded the left and right, not allowing outsiders to get close. Murong-ing took the rejuvenation pill and ate it without hesitation. She was very clear about the effects of this medicine. Back then, Luo Xiaofeng was a talent that Murong-ing had poached. Without her, there would not be these 2 kinds of tonics. The rejuvenation pill was used to heal the body, while the rejuvenation pill was used to restore the true qi in the body. After taking the rejuvenation pill, Murong-ing felt much better. The feeling of exhaustion and emptiness just now had also disappeared. At this moment, the situation was a little tense. The boxcar was parked to the side, guarded by Yan Kai. And Li Fan was in the middle of the road, protected by Guan Wenbao. The remaining leader of China's martial arts world, Murong-ing, was also guarded by another powerful her. Spades was a little unhappy. They clearly had more people on their side, but why couldn't they do anything to these Chinese people? With their efforts, they managed to seal off the area, but it wouldn't last for too long. He had to end the battle quickly. The X was right in front of him, in that van. However, it was difficult to make a choice now. Should he attack the van directly, or should he kill this Huaxia escort first? Spade quickly came to the conclusion that it was better to get rid of the escort first. He had to kill him, or else he wouldn't be able to get close to the van. The Ace of Spades gave a look to the people next to him. They had a tacit understanding. Spade J immediately glanced at Guan Wenbao. Old Guan was holding onto the crescent moon knife and couldn't move again. At this moment, the 4 beast ninjas noticed Li Fan's weakness. They immediately pounced on him and swung their sharp chains at him. However, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and swung it. 4 hooks immediately flew out and hooked onto a nearby tree. An icicle suddenly rose from the ground, trying to pin Li Fan to the ground. But Li Fan slapped the ground with his palm. The power of the Qilin palm was earth-shattering. The icicle was shattered by his palm, leaving only a pile of ice shards. How dare a small barbarian act so presumptuously in my country? Li Fan sneered and slowly stood up. One rejuvenation pill had helped him recover quite a bit. When he stood up, the god of war behind him also popped out. Looking at the golden god of war, Spade A didn't know why, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. What is this? As Li Fan's strength increased, the appearance of the god of war became clearer. He looked very much like Li Fan, wearing a golden armor. The golden armor also seemed to have a shape. There seemed to be a Qilin on it. The four beast ninjas thought they had an opportunity. They suddenly appeared behind Li Fan, ready to launch a sneak attack. But the god of war suddenly turned around and pulled out two huge black swords from thin air. He swung them horizontally. The four beast ninjas didn't even have time to release their substitutes and were instantly killed by Li Fan's god of war. The god of war's sword had a beast ninja's corpse stuck in it. He swung the sword, and the corpse was sent flying towards the German tank. One of the German tank's hands separated and immediately tore the beast ninja in half. The beast ninjas didn't even have time to use their trump cards before they were all destroyed. And Li Fan's body suddenly stopped. Spade J used his telekinesis to lock him down. But he could lock down Li Fan, but he couldn't lock down the god of war. The god of war put away his sword and slapped at Spade J through the air. Spade A finally moved. He used both hands to create a purple crystal shield in front of him. Bang! The crystal shield shook, but it protected them. Li Fan snorted. The god of war above his head suddenly rose 3 feet, becoming 10 meters tall. Then, with a Qilin palm, it directly imprinted on the crystal shield. Bang! The crystal shield directly broke. Spade J and Spade K were directly killed by Li Fan's Qilin palm. One of them turned into ice and shattered on the ground. The other burned and turned into charcoal in the blink of an eye. Spade A was the only one who survived. He was wearing a crystal armor. He flipped twice in the air and fell into the pit next to him. The 3 German tanks saw this and prepared to finish him off. The 3 of them jumped into the pit and prepared to kill Spade A. However, 3 crystal pillars suddenly fell from the sky and smashed into the bodies of the 3 German tanks, instantly turning them into meat paste. Spade A slowly stood up from the pit. He was wearing a purple crystal armor, and his eyes were filled with anger. You stupid Chinese people, how dare you resist the punishment of our American empire? Spade A's voice was filled with anger. Li Fan retorted sarcastically. Fuck your punishment. Do I need you to punish me? You dare to cause trouble in Chinese territory? Li Fan used a huge god of war and consumed a lot of true qi. Using the god of war to release the Qilin palm was not something that could be done casually. But he put away the god of war and took out his extraordinary sword. The black extraordinary sword spun above Li Fan's head like a spirit that came to life. Spade A also activated his ability and released 3 crystal pillars that fell from the sky. The extraordinary sword above Li Fan's head released 9 sword shadows. They flew up and tore the 3 crystal pillars apart. Spade A waved his hand again and another 3 crystal pillars smashed towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not move at all. Another 9 sword shadows flew up and shattered the crystal pillars again. Li Fan observed that this guy could only release 3 crystal pillars at a time. He could not release more. Your death is coming. Accept the punishment of our great American empire. Spade A roared. He raised his hands high and threw the crystal pillars again and again. Li Fan's body had not fully recovered and it was inconvenient for him to move. He could only fight against Spade A, but he had already thought of a way to deal with Spade A. Chapter 8:15. Using the crystal pillar was Spade A's only means of attack. For martial artists, such a simple method of attack was too easy to see through. Li Fan crushed the falling crystal pillar while looking at Spade A's body. His eyes emitted a golden light, which was the effect of filling his eyes with true qi. In his eyes, Spade A's aura was very obvious. He was covered in purple light, a bit like a gay man. And every time Spades used the crystal pillar, his aura would dim a lot. That's it. Spades raised his hands again, and he tried to make more crystal pillars fall. But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly reached out and pointed at Spades A. A sword shadow immediately shot out and pierced Spades A's chest in the blink of an eye, flying out the other side with blood and minced flesh. Killed in one move. Spades A looked at Li Fan in shock. He couldn't believe that he, an elite of Team A, would die here today. And in this way, all the invading enemies were cleared. Li Fan clutched his chest, where the injury was almost healed. And Murong-ing was still standing opposite, looking at him. Do you still want to fight? Li Fan looked at Murong-ing and asked. I don't want to fight anymore. Murong-ing had no intention to fight. Her strength had not recovered, and Murong-ing had to investigate the matter of being controlled just now. But the next time we meet, it will still be a battle of life and death. Be prepared. After Murong-ing finished speaking, she bounced her feet and left with Qinggong. Although Murong-ying's Qinggong was not particularly good, it was still very powerful. She jumped, and in the blink of an eye, she left the place. Li Fan did not chase. The flying lion version of Murong-ing was also slowly disappearing, turning into a sky full of golden light. Guan Wenbao wanted to help Li Fan, but was pushed away by Li Fan. I'm not that weak. Get in the car, we haven't finished the journey yet. Although they were only bait, they had to put on a good show. The group returned to the van. Although the road was damaged, Li Fan believed that it wouldn't take long for the government to come and clean up the mess. Exin, you've worked hard. As Lu Bing spoke, he looked at Li Fan's bare upper body and the shocking wound on his chest. Although it was almost healed, there were still scars. Zhang Guang's attitude also changed, and he began to feel deep veneration. He had always thought that Wuxiao was just nonsense, but today he realized that this was a truly cruel and terrifying world. Li Fan single-handedly fought against the heroes of the various countries. This strength and boldness were worthy of admiration. They probably won't dare to come after this, right? Lu Bing asked. Li Fan shook his head. What we just destroyed was just a vanguard of theirs. My guess is that their real interception should be here. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out his hand and drew on the map in front of him. The place they were going to was Spanish Fish Circle, but on a section of the National Highway in Spanish Fish Circle, there was a very large uninhabited area. Since X was so important to the various countries, they wouldn't just send such a small force. The battle just now was just their vanguard? Lu Bing was a little shocked. What exactly were they escorting? Why would other people fight for it so crazily? Each country had their own elite troops, and their battle strength was extremely strong. The previous wave had already caused them to be badly battered, and Li Fan was also badly injured. Although Li Fan was powerful, it was difficult for him to fight against so many people. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai still had to protect the escort vehicle, so the three of them couldn't fully display their battle strength. At this moment, Zhang Guang was deeply ashamed. He felt that everything he had learned was useless. Right now, he couldn't use it at all, and could only watch the show. Don't worry, there was just an accident. Li Fan said, next time I will eat as many as they come. Don't worry, my appetite is very big. With that, Li Fan consumed another rejuvenation pill and slowly closed his eyes. The rejuvenation pill could recover his body, and the rejuvenation pill could adjust his qi. Later on, there would be a huge battle, and he needed to recover his strength. Li Fan looked at his nose, and his nose looked at his heart, and entered a deep state of cultivation. Murong-ing, who was wearing the flying lion golden armor, suddenly appeared and sat beside Li Fan. Every time Li Fan entered a deep state of cultivation, she would automatically appear and protect Li Fan. Li Fan had already entered a deep state of consciousness, and his world was still black and white. On the white side, the golden dragon divine general stood there, holding a black extraordinary sword with both hands. On the black side, the 7 demon kings sat there quietly, and their hands were like the claws of a qilin, as if they wanted to tear everything apart. The 8th star lit up with a bit of light. Li Fan's strength was already approaching the 8th level, but it didn't mean that he could break through. It took him half a year to break through the 7th level. The 8th level was out of reach. Li Fan believed that as long as he could enter the 8th level, he could truly step into the realm of a generation's grandmaster. There was still a 9th level of the 7 Heroes force, but Li Fan didn't know what he could achieve in the 9th level. Moreover, the 8th level was still far away, not to mention the distant 9th level. Cultivation indeed had to be done step by step, and he couldn't be too impatient. The more impatient he was, the more restless the 7 demon kings in the black world next door would be. He couldn't give him the chance to replace him. Li Fan was quietly cultivating his qi. 5 wisps of white smoke came out of the top of his head and floated out of the car window. The flying lion Murong-ing was still sitting there quietly, guarding its master. The car continued to move, and there was still some time before they reached their destination. The previous battle had also taken up a lot of time. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were also taking the opportunity to adjust their qi. When they came out this time, they had brought a lot of rejuvenation pills and rejuvenation pills. With the help of powerful potions, they would have a strong output and endurance. They're already close to the death zone. Not far away, a man in a leather jacket was riding a motorcycle, following behind the van. He turned on the walkie-talkie and reported to Zhou Tai. The vanguard has been taken care of by Li Fan, but the main force should arrive soon. He continued to report. At this time, the motorcyclist he had left behind seemed to wake up. The man in the jacket waved his hand and slapped him, causing him to faint again. "I'll continue to follow them and report to you at any time," the man in the jacket said as he continued to ride the Harley-Davidson motorcycle, slowly following behind the van. Very soon, they arrived at the No Man's Land. No Man's Land didn't mean that no one passed through here. It was because this was a route blocked by the military, so only people with a pass could pass through here. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang were nervous. They knew that danger could come at any time. Chapter 8:16. About 20 years ago, a nuclear test had been conducted in this uninhabited area, causing the area to be barren and barren. Therefore, the government sealed off this area to prevent people from being exposed to radiation. 20 years had already passed. Some tenacious grass had once again grown here, covering the entire area. The van drove in this no man's land. This was the fastest route to the Bayfish Circle Pier. Moreover, the security outside the no man's land could help them block off some monsters. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Lu Bing's hand that was smoking was trembling slightly. Don't jinx it. Although Zhang Guang reprimanded him, he also had a bad feeling. Li Fan still had his eyes closed, as if he could not hear anything outside. They had already reached this place, and he still did not wake up? According to what he said, this place should be a very scary place. We have already beaten back a wave. They have also seen our combat power. Lu Bing was still optimistic. I guess they will not dare to come again. I hope so. Zhang Guang could only hope for the best. As for the result, no one knew until they reached Bayfish Circle. They had already driven halfway through the no man's land. The grass on the ground was blowing, and there were deer running by the roadside. Everything looked so harmonious. This kind of pure nature made Lu Bing not have the heart to throw the cigarette but outside. Everything seemed so comfortable and carefree. Besides the sound of the van, there was no other sound. It was so quiet that it made their ears hurt. Lu Bing took out his phone and took 2 pictures. This place is very good. Let's go back and let my daughter have a look. This place is not bad, but it is not suitable for humans to live in. Zhang Guang remembered that this was a radiation zone. It has been more than 20 years. The radiation is long gone. The effects of nuclear radiation are very long-lasting. Zhang Guang reminded Lu Bing, "How did you learn your national defense class? We are now taking the risk to walk this road. I hope there will not be any effects when we go back." "Don't worry." Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. Yan Kai has used his true energy to seal this van. The radiation cannot enter here. Ah, really? Lu Bing was a little surprised. This true qi is so powerful that it can even block radiation. To put it bluntly, radiation is just a type of energy. Li Fan poured his true qi into his eyes, and a golden electric light flowed out of his eyes. In his eyes, this area was indeed nurturing different powers. A kind of green energy spread over it, but it was blocked by the true qi on the exterior of the car. "Why are you awake? Are you almost recovered?" Zhang Guang respectfully asked. You're recovering well. However, I woke up not because I've recovered, but because a guest has arrived." As Li Fan spoke, he pointed to the sky. In the sky, a plane flew past. It was unknown which airport it came from. Suddenly, a notification came from Lu Bing's earphone. A stealth fighter took off from the sea nearby and has entered the no man's land. Lu Bing became nervous. The fire control radar has already locked onto it. As he spoke, a few missiles flew over from the sky, spraying blue flames as they chased after the plane. However, the plane projected a huge fighter mech. With a thump, it landed heavily on the no man's land. This fighter mech was like a huge fighting robot, painted with camouflage colors. It raised its head, and its eyes lit up as it scanned the car. Then, the fighter mech sprayed blue light as it quickly chased after the car. "Fuck!" The driver couldn't help but curse, and then stepped on the gas pedal to the ground. The entire car went wild. It suddenly leaped out and rushed out. A 10 meters tall fighter mech chased after it crazily. The car had already reached 150 miles per hour, but it still couldn't shake off the mech chasing after it. It was unknown which country this fighter mech was developed by. It was a high-performance mech that chased after the car without stopping. At the same time, a row of missiles ejected from its shoulder and flew towards the car. A total of 12 small missiles were extremely fast as they chased after the car. Li Fan snorted coldly. He asked the driver to open the car's sunroof. He stood in the car and slightly bent his legs. The muscles on his calves were tense like a tightened bar. Bang! Li Fan was ejected from the car like a cannonball. The van shuddered and almost bounced off the ground. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already arrived in front of the mech. The extraordinary sword chased after his figure. 12 sword shadows separated and chased after the small missiles, clearing them all. Boom, boom, boom. The missiles exploded in the air one after another. Li Fan passed through the flames and landed on top of the mech's head. The mech immediately began to charge, as if it wanted to electrocute Li Fan. However, Li Fan absorbed the electricity. Then he turned over and kicked the mech. Rushing thunder kick. The electricity was completely returned to the mech. The mech took 2 steps back and electricity exploded in front of its chest. Clearly, it had suffered a big move. Li Fan felt the surrounding energy. He stepped on the cloud ladder twice and jumped up another 3 meters. At the same time, Li Fan stretched out his right hand and a powerful black hole suddenly appeared in his palm. The surrounding radiation energy was attracted by this power and was directly attracted by Li Fan's power. All the radiation energy continuously flowed into Li Fan's right hand and gathered on his right palm. Li Fan's arm was now rather special. It was filled with radiation energy, but it did not affect him. He stepped on the cloud ladder a few more times and directly jumped over 100 meters into the air, hanging upside down. Dragon King Seal. Li Fan directly hit the mech that had turned into a small toy. Boom! The ground suddenly caved in and a huge palm print appeared. A mushroom cloud rose up and shot straight into the sky. As for the mech, it was deeply imprinted into the ground. At the same time, because of the radiation, the mech instantly turned into flying ash and disappeared in the blink of an eye. There was still a large amount of radiation energy left in the crater. The energy that was originally dispersed had been condensed again and remained in the crater. Looking at the huge crater, Lu Bing and Zhang Guang looked at each other in fear. This was a nuclear explosion. A human could actually produce the energy of a nuclear explosion. How was this possible? They could not believe their eyes. Li Fan once again landed on the ground. He wrapped his body with true qi. The nuclear energy did not dare to corrode his body and avoided it. Li Fan's palm was shocking. Some of the enemies hiding in the dark were stunned. Chapter 8:17. Li Fan stood on the ground, exuding an aura that could not be looked at directly. Just by standing there, he was a godlike figure. Oh my God! This is simply... In the distance, the man in the jacket held a pair of binoculars in his hand and looked over. He could not help but feel shocked. Unbelievable. For a human to be able to produce the power of a nuclear explosion, this was indeed beyond his common sense. The man in the jacket put away his binoculars and was stunned for a long time, as if he had forgotten about the question coming from his earpiece. Number 0, tell me quickly what happened? Zhou Tai continued to press him. Answer me quickly. What happened to the enemy's mecha? Was X stolen? Zhou Tai was indeed a little anxious. This mecha was the latest technology and had powerful weapons. Moreover, this mecha was powered by a brand new nuclear energy. One mecha could last for a week. It had a powerful alloy armor and nuclear weapons. This mecha could fight against an armored division. The cost of building this mecha would cost more than $10 billion. Zhou Tai did not expect the United States to use such a thing this time. This was even more expensive than burning an aircraft carrier. The mecha was destroyed by Li Fan. The man in the jacket reacted after a long time and said slowly, "He was beaten to a pulp? What did Li Fan use to destroy it?" With his palm, Zhou Tai was stunned for a moment and then said, "Stop messing around." "I'm not messing around. It's really..." The man in the jacket did not know how to explain. This matter was too unreal. Li Fan's palm produced the effect of a nuclear explosion, so the mecha was destroyed. Fuck! Zhou Tai was speechless for a long time before he finally said this. At this time, Li Fan tidied up his clothes and then walked towards the van parked at the side. However, when Li Fan returned, Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were lying in the van, as if they had been drugged, lying there motionless. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang had also fainted, obviously drugged. Li Fan looked at the goods again. X had been stolen. He immediately turned his head and released his palm in a certain direction. Bang! A shockwave exploded, and the air there seemed to be torn apart. A few werewolf-like monsters with fur all over their bodies fell out. Li Fan looked at their clothes and found that they had attributes on them. They seemed to be beast ninjas. These beast ninjas were the 4 people from before, but they were clearly killed. It seemed that they hadn't died, but had used some sort of camouflage technique to hide until now. They had almost been killed in the end. After transforming into wolves, the beast ninjas' attack and speed increased by quite a bit. One of them was protecting the metal can use to transport the X, while the other 3 directly pounced on Li Fan. Using their sharp claws as weapons, they launched a series of quick attacks on Li Fan. The speed of the 3 werewolf ninjas was so fast that even the air was torn apart. But Li Fan just stood there and used his left hand to deflect the attacks of the 3 werewolf ninjas with the crane hand kung fu. How dare a bunch of rascals steal from under my nose? As Li Fan spoke, he swung his hand and threw out his extraordinary sword. The extraordinary sword flew into the sky and spun in the air. God slaying. Li Fan pointed with his finger, and a black lightning bolt immediately shot down and struck one of the beast ninjas. The beast ninja was instantly turned into charcoal. He used his ultimate move, he is at his weakest. One of the beast ninjas shouted, and the remaining 2 beast ninjas seemed to have gone berserk and attacked Li Fan crazily. Li Fan pointed at the beast ninja on the right. Second strike. Another black lightning bolt struck down and turned the second beast ninja into ashes. Third strike. Li Fan attacked again, and the black lightning struck down. The third beast ninja's body disappeared completely in the twisting lightning. Impossible. The remaining beast ninja stood beside the metal can and stared blankly at Li Fan, who was slowly descending from the sky. Are you ready to die? Li Fan stretched out his right hand towards the beast ninja. The beast ninja had been through cruel training, and they were never afraid of death. But at this moment he was afraid. The beast ninja turned around and ran, but Li Fan pressed down with his right hand. Bang! The beast ninja knelt down, and his knees crushed the ground. Your strength is not bad, but you have messed with the wrong person. Li Fan said and closed his palm, and the beast ninja's head was instantly crushed by Li Fan. Li Fan already has the strength of 9 dragons, and he is close to the level of a grandmaster. Without a suitable expert, it would be difficult to defend against Li Fan's attack. Although these beast ninjas had the genes of wolves, they were still a distance away from Li Fan. Wake up! Li Fan waved his hand, and True Qi forced the poison out of Guan Wenbao and the rest, and they slowly woke up. Slap! Guan Wenbao slapped himself and knelt in front of Li Fan. This Guan was careless and failed miserably. I have let down my benefactor. Li Fan waved his hand, and True Qi lifted Guan Wenbao up. Don't mess around. Is there a need to be like this with our relationship? But this Guan is indeed incompetent. This is not your fault. These fellows' abilities are indeed strange. Li Fan comforted Guan Wenbao. They specialize in evil ways, and it is naturally difficult to defend against them. Next time, he would just have to be more careful. If anything happens to you, it will be a great loss to me. But, all right, Li Fan patted his shoulder. Take this as a lesson, and you will not suffer like this again in the future. And, if there is a next time, I will bring my head to see you. Guan Wenbao was very traditional, and his face was full of shame and self-blame. All right, Yan Kai, if you have nothing better to do, try to persuade him. With his temper, who can persuade him? Yan Kai curled his lips, and he was also somewhat unhappy. He was actually tricked by a few Japanese. For the arrogant Yan Kai, this was simply an insult to his dignity. He was extremely unhappy. If Li Fan had not already killed those fellows, he would have punched them a few more times. It's good that the thing is still here. Lu Bing saw that the metal can was still there, and he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Zhang Guang, on the other hand, was still very cautious. He was holding a pair of binoculars, observing the surrounding situation. Within a radius of 100 meters, there was no sign of human habitation, as if all the enemies had been eliminated. This could be considered as having passed this round. But at this moment, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and directly stepped on the container car. This container car directly collapsed into scrap metal, and before the driver had time to get off, he was already minced meat. Chapter 8:18. Li Fan immediately frowns as killing intent flashes across his eyes. Who is this person? The person in front of him descends from the sky. He is wearing metal armor and seems to be a member of the Storm Mercenary Group. This person has golden hair, and indeed the Storm Mercenary Group logo is printed on his chest. He is carrying a huge warhammer in one hand and a shield as tall as a person in the other. He coldly looks at Li Fan. Little tyrant, I am here to kill you. As he speaks, his gaze falls on the metal can. Since you are here, don't even think of leaving. Li Fan's anger is already burning. This uninvited guest actually dares to kill his people. Hee, I am a super soldier who has consumed the new generation angel. The golden-haired man says proudly, just you alone is not my opponent. Fuck, leave this idiot to me. Leave it to me. Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao are unable to take it anymore. The two of them jump over. Guan Wenbao slashes out with his crescent blade, bringing with it flames. However, the golden-haired man only raises his shield. It is unknown what material this shield is made of, but it is abnormally sturdy. The golden-haired man blocks Guan Wenbao's attack. At the same time, he swings his huge warhammer and smashes it towards Guan Wenbao. Yan Kai immediately stretches out his hands and releases his Taiji power in an attempt to block the golden-haired man's warhammer. However, the warhammer erupts with flames. The entire warhammer suddenly accelerates and instantly breaks through Yan Kai's Taiji power and smashes towards Guan Wenbao's head. Guan Wenbao is smashed to the ground by the warhammer while Yan Kai is also sent flying by the golden-haired man's shield. Two powerful battle generals had been defeated just like that. Lu Bing and Zhang Guang are somewhat shocked. They have personally witnessed the strength of these two warlords. Previously, when they fought against the elites of so many countries, the two of them were not at a disadvantage. Yet, they were defeated in a single move? Only Li Fan knows that the two of them were drugged and their bodies are still a little weak. Otherwise, they would not be defeated so easily. Thief and escort agency, trash. The golden-haired man was even more disdainful. He raised his war hammer, which burst into flames again. He was ready to deal another blow to Yan Kai and Guan Wenbao. But at this time, Li Fan stretched out his hands and activated his true qi, pulling his two capable subordinates back from a distance. The golden-haired man's war hammer fell to the ground, creating a huge crater. Although Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were a little weak, it could be seen that the golden-haired man was very strong. He didn't know what the hell the new generation of angel potion was. Coupled with this set of human skeleton armor, the golden-haired man's combat power had indeed soared to a superhuman state. The war hammer in his hand began to transform and soon turned into a special long-barreled hunting rifle. He held it in his hand and aimed it at Li Fan. Bang! The golden-haired man opened fire, and Li Fan's figure was directly smashed into pieces. The golden-haired man laughed. Trash, a bunch of trash. This kind of trash actually needs me, the Archangel, to personally deal with it. What a joke. The golden-haired man said his title. Archangel, what a Chunibyu name. A mocking voice came from behind. The Archangel was shocked. He turned his head and found that Li Fan was standing behind him and scathed. And Li Fan's palm was aimed at him. Although the Archangel was a little surprised, he quickly calmed down. His shield was made of super-dense cold steel. It could even block a missile. It was just a palm, what was there to be afraid of? A mere martial artist was just some people who were sensationalist. The Archangel raised his shield and allowed Li Fan's palm to hit it. He didn't care about Li Fan's strength at all. Bang! But there was a heavy sound. Li Fan's palm directly left a palm print on the shield, and the Archangel took a step back in a sorry state, leaving a footprint on the ground with one foot. What kind of power is this? The Archangel felt that his left hand holding the shield was a little numb. The shield seemed to fall from his hand at any time. As for Li Fan, he followed up and once again sent a palm at the Archangel. The Archangel felt that there might have been an accident just now. He raised his super-dense cold steel shield again and prepared to use the shield to shatter this Chinese man's weak wrist. Ding! It was like a monk striking a bell. The cold steel shield let out a heavy sound and an even deeper palm print appeared on it. Impossible! The Archangel couldn't believe his eyes. His cold steel shield had been heavily injured again. Li Fan's third palm came. The Archangel put down his war hammer and held the shield with both hands. He stabbed the steel spikes under the shield into the ground. Qilin palm. Li Fan's left hand started to swell and transform. Soon, it became like a beast's claw and heavily pressed against the cold steel shield. The cold steel shield was directly shattered. The Archangel was sent flying. The power of ice and fire was fused together by Li Fan, creating a powerful explosion with shocking power. Li Fan had never seen someone who could directly block Li Fan's Qilin palm. Even this cold steel shield couldn't do it. The Archangel flung his golden hair and jumped up. He looked at Li Fan in disbelief. The cold steel shield was actually broken? Could it be that you are a cyborg? He had heard that the United States was researching a type of cyborg, combining humans and machines to form a powerful combat strength. They were known as human weapons. Could it be that this Li Fan also had a cyborg with a metal skeleton? Li Fan didn't answer the Archangel's question. He used his Qinggong and instantly appeared in front of the Archangel, scaring the Archangel into taking a step back. Bam! Li Fan raised his foot and kicked the Archangel's chest, giving him a solid kick on his butt. The Archangel rolled to the ground and then bounced more than 10 meters away like a cannonball, causing the grass on the opposite side to be lifted up. The Archangel was wearing a metal armor and helped him neutralize 80% of the force. As a result, he wasn't injured, but his internal organs were slightly shaken. When he got up, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. What a terrifying Chinese. The Archangel finally understood that this guy called Li Fan wasn't a good person. His nickname in China was the Little Overlord. It seemed that it wasn't a title given for nothing. But what about his mission? Was he not going to do it anymore? The Archangel couldn't help but take out a black syringe. It contained the third-generation demon. The angel potion didn't have any side effects. It only stimulated the human body's metabolism and stimulated more potential. However, the demon potion was different. It was produced by an arms dealer. It was said that this demon potion would give a person great potential, but it would also bring about terrifying side effects. This thing? Should he use it or not? Looking at Li Fan standing there, the archangel gritted his teeth. Wasn't it just a little side effect? At most, he would lose 2 years of life. He had to kill this Chinese monkey. Chapter 8:19. Archangel injected the potion into his blood vessels. He felt the world spinning around him. It was as if something had drilled into his body and flowed into his internal organs through his blood vessels. His body was trembling, and his muscles suddenly began to mutate. His muscles seemed to have a life of their own and began to grow. However, the archangel was still wearing the metal armor. The muscles that grew quickly devoured the metal armor on his body. Archangel had completely mutated. His entire body turned into metal muscles, and the warhammer replaced his right arm as his weapon. There was also a cold steel shield on his left hand, strengthening his defense. The archangel from before had now turned into a 3-meter-tall monster with a black and white wing on his back. But soon, the metal climbed up and engulfed the wing, turning it into a metal wing. Archangel's eyes were squeezed into one, and his single eye emitted a unique light. Kigochu. Archangel made a mechanical voice at Li Fan. As expected, after this guy used the devil potion, it produced a terrifying chemical reaction with the angel potion and began to mutate. This terrifying metal monster was his mutated self. He didn't even have much rationality left. His only goal now was probably to kill him. Archangel flapped the wings on his back and suddenly rushed in front of Li Fan. His speed was as fast as a jet. The warhammer in his right hand swept towards Li Fan, bringing with it a strong flame. Li Fan threw out the extraordinary sword and controlled it to block in front of him, blocking Archangel's warhammer. Clang. Heavy sound. Both of their bodies trembled at the same time. Li Fan slid half a step back, and Archangel slid 2 steps back. Li Fan had just used 50% of his strength, but he felt that Archangel hadn't used his full strength either. He was familiarizing himself with the new strength in his body. Li Fan didn't expect the fusion of the angel and devil potions to produce such a powerful reaction. Amazing! Li Fan could not help but praise. The archangel flapped his wings and charged at Li Fan again. At the same time, he attacked Li Fan with his warhammer. Li Fan donned the golden armor and used the crane's hand to block a few attacks, but was forced to retreat. With every attack, this fellow's strength would increase a little. If he was allowed to grow any further, it would not be good. Clad in golden armor, Li Fan instantly entered the state of divine dragon general. He faced the archangel opposite him and carefully observed his every move. Every move of the archangel was engraved in Li Fan's mind. No matter how powerful a person was, there would always be a flaw. As long as he grasped the archangel's attack rhythm, he would be able to defeat him in one move. An archangel might be strong, but he was a martial fighter. What did martial artists excel at? Combat. The archangel charged in front of Li Fan again, the warhammer in his hand smashing down on Li Fan's head. This time, Li Fan did not retreat. He took a step forward and crashed into the archangel's chest. Then he used his elbow to hit the archangel's chest. The impact caused the archangel to explode and the warhammer in his hand to stop attacking. Following that, Li Fan kicked the archangel's calf, bending the archangel's metal calf and causing him to kneel on the ground. Li Fan followed up with a knee strike, hitting the archangel's face heavily. Cracks appeared on the archangel's helmet and his entire body flew more than 10 meters away, spinning and smashing into the ground. Li Fan's clean and beautiful combo skills. If Murong-ing saw it, she would definitely clap her hands in praise. This was a true martial fighter. It was rare for Li Fan to use combo skills. This time, he got the hang of it. However, after the archangel's transformation, his defense had greatly increased. He quickly climbed out of the pit and some cracks appeared on the metal muscles on his body. He seemed to be enraged. He opened his mouth and roared fiercely. The air trembled as though it was frightened by the archangel's roar. At the same time, the archangel's right hammer slammed heavily on the ground, causing the ground to explode into a red wave of flames. The energy flowed along the ground and rapidly approached Li Fan. Bang! A powerful shockwave exploded beneath Li Fan's feet, sending Li Fan's body flying into the air. Li Fan fell to the ground. The archangel swung his right arm and his entire body spun on the ground. The power of the hammer immediately increased. He was just waiting for Li Fan to fall and kill him with one strike. As the archangel spun, it also caused the air currents to form a small vortex, pulling Li Fan's falling body over. The energy on Li Fan's body erupted. The shadow of an extraordinary sword appeared in front of him, allowing him to step on it. This was even more powerful than Cloud Ladder and Swallow 3 splashes. Li Fan's body directly received the rebound force and somersaulted back to the ground, dodging the archangel's attack. However, the archangel was not to be outdone. As his body spun, he moved and quickly approached Li Fan. Li Fan did not use his true chi to push the archangel away because his true chi was not omnipotent. The archangel's current strength was too great. Just relying on his true chi was useless. If his true chi approached, it would be crushed by the archangel's hammer. Oh no, this is dangerous. Seeing the surrounding rubble being swept over and then smashed into pieces by the warhammer, Lu Bing knew that things were not looking good. Officer Li must have his ways. After watching a few battles, Zhang Guang now had blind faith in Li Fan. He even trusted him more than Zhou Tai, who was a level higher than him. Li Fan's strength was real. He had saved them from danger many times. Unfortunately, their driver was also from the National Security Bureau. This time, he could only be buried according to the martyr's rank. What a pity! He did not have to die, but in the end he suffered an unexpected disaster. And Li Fan did have a way. He used his true chi to suck the ground with his feet to maintain his stability and not be attracted by the man-made tornado. Li Fan pointed at the extraordinary sword, and it immediately landed in front of him. The extraordinary sword stored Li Fan's unknown true chi in case of emergencies. More extraordinary swords were created, and like rain, they shot towards the archangel. It could not be said that they were shot over. They were basically dragged over. These sword shadows increased their speed and landed on the archangel's warhammer with clanging sounds. Sparks flew everywhere. Although the archangel was fierce, the number of sword shadows was too terrifying. Soon he was forced to retreat step by step, and his defense was constantly collapsing. Li Fan saw the dawn of victory. Chapter 8:20. The mutated archangel was forced to retreat by Li Fan's attacks. The dense rain of swords destroyed his body, and he couldn't even lift his hammer. Li Fan immediately withdrew and prepared to use Qilin Palm to defeat the archangel. But the moment Li Fan approached, the archangel suddenly roared. This roar caused Li Fan's body to freeze, and he was unable to move for a long time. The archangel's roar seemed to have some special mental ability that directly captured his nerves and locked his body, temporarily immobilizing him. Although it only took less than a second, the archangel had already rushed in front of Li Fan. At the same time, the warhammer in his hand smashed down on Li Fan's head. Golden light appeared. Flying Lion Murong Ing appeared in front of Li Fan with her shield and used it to block the archangel's warhammer. Clang! Flying Lion Murong Ying's shield was shattered, and her body was scattered by the power of the warhammer. However, Li Fan was safe and sound. He stood there, his body regaining the ability to move. He raised his palm and slapped the archangel's chest. Bang! Qilin Palm. The power of ice and fire fused and exploded, striking the archangel's chest and sending him flying. A clear palm print was left on his chest. Li Fan was a little angry. Flying Lion Murong Ing appeared automatically. Every time he was in the most dangerous situation, she would automatically come out to protect her master. He didn't know if this mode was the ability of Bai Lin Luo's good guy card. Fortunately, the good guy card wouldn't be damaged. After being defeated, it would take about half an hour to recover. However, sacrificing Murong-ing to save him once made Li Fan a little unhappy. Although the archangel stood up again, his 7 orifices began to bleed. He screamed and rushed in front of Li Fan again as if he was hysterical, attacking with his war hammer crazily. Such a heavy hammer was like a toy to him. He waved it around with astonishing strength. Li Fan held the 2 sword shadows in his hands and continuously clashed with the archangel's warhammer. The 2 sword shadows were infused with Li Fan's true energy, making them incomparably hard. They were evenly matched with the archangel's warhammer. In the end, the archangel was still a little weak. He only knew how to attack in a frenzy, but he didn't understand the rhythm of his attacks. Li Fan was a martial artist who had trained hard. He quickly discovered more of the archangel's weaknesses. Seeing an opening, Li Fan suddenly raised his 2 swords and slashed at the archangel's shoulder. 2 sparks flew and blood spurted out. The archangel's body stiffened, but Li Fan raised his 2 swords and suddenly sped up. In just 3 short seconds, Li Fan had slashed out over 100 times, all of them landing on the archangel's body. Finally, Li Fan took a step forward and slowly sheathed his 2 swords. Dragon Shadow Chasing Wind Slash. Suddenly, blood spurted out from the archangel's chest. The archangel slowly knelt on the ground. Obviously, he was seriously injured by Li Fan's move. Just as Li Fan was about to heave a sigh of relief, a bolt of lightning suddenly fell from the sky. This lightning bolt was like a spear, directly piercing through Li Fan's shoulder and nailing his body to the ground. Li Fan frowned. He raised his head and saw a familiar figure floating in the air. He was wearing a gorgeous golden coat and holding 2 lightning spears in his hands. He was smiling at Li Fan. Poseidon? Li Fan recalled that he had heard them mention that Poseidon was already the creator. Li Fan, your combat strength is not bad. The creator floated in the air and sneered at Li Fan. However, this is limited to humans. For a god, you are still too far away. God? Li Fan held the lightning protruding from his shoulder and slowly pulled it out. Blood flowed from his shoulder and slowly healed. His healing ability was faster than others. However, the lightning on the lightning was still there and was constantly tearing at Li Fan's wounds. A god who likes to sneak attack. How interesting. Li Fan laughed coldly. The meaning of mockery was very obvious. If God's capital is like this, I'd rather be an ordinary person. Li Fan, do you think that you can defeat me without being injured? The creator said very proudly, I am a high and mighty god with supreme divine power. To me, you can be squashed to death with just a flick of my finger. Then come and try. Li Fan's injuries recovered a little. He raised his head and looked at the creator in the air. I was the one who released you. Let me kill you with my own hands. Ha, what a foolish mortal. Dream on. The creator laughed loudly. He thought that Li Fan was joking. His strength had recovered quite a bit. With his super strong mental power and proficient in many kinds of superpowers, he felt that he had become a supreme god. The creator raised both of his hands. Lightning condensed on his palms and formed a powerful lightning spear. The energy contained in each lightning spear was enough to destroy a small town. This was the power of the creator. After regaining the power from back then, the creator was filled with confidence. With his strength, he was more than enough to kill this Chinese monkey. So what if a Chinese knows some strange martial arts? His own superpower was the strongest power. As soon as the god of creation released his hand, another bolt of lightning struck down, heading straight for Li Fan. However, Li Fan was already prepared. He stretched out his right palm and blocked the lightning. Bang! The lightning and Li Fan's palm collided and a shockwave exploded. With a loud bang, Li Fan took a step back and the lightning was shattered by the force. The creator kept throwing lightning spears at Li Fan, trying to blast Li Fan into pieces. However, Li Fan used both of his palms to block the lightning, tearing it apart. Li Fan relied on his true qi to protect himself. Although some of his internal organs were injured, he was still in good health. The more he fought, the stronger he became. The wound on his shoulder was also healing quickly. Although it was electricity, Li Fan could absorb electricity. Therefore, he slowly absorbed the lightning on his shoulder. This creator was too annoying. This time, he should take the opportunity to kill him and get it over with once and for all. Li Fan destroyed the creator's lightning attacks. At the same time, he aimed his palm at the creator's body and slapped it across the air. Ursa Major Seal. The creator's body trembled violently, and he was sent flying. He tumbled in the air, and then he stabilized his body. Just with your strength? You dare to hurt me? After stabilizing his body, the creator sneered at Li Fan. What a joke! With that, the creator raised both of his hands and created a huge lightning spear. Fighting with God will be your death. The sky was filled with dark clouds. It was as if they were creating momentum for the creator. This time, it was like a war between humans and God. Chapter 8:21. The creator floated high in the sky, holding a ball of lightning in his hands and condensing it into a lightning spear. Li Fan stood on the ground, his body surging with golden true chi. The great war god popped out and appeared behind Li Fan, raising his palm and aiming at the creator above his head. The two of them stared at each other, wanting to kill each other. All of a sudden, the creator threw that terrible thunderbolt downwards. The lightning spear directly reached the top of Li Fan's head, and it looked like it was going to pierce through Li Fan's head. But the great war god's palm also slapped out. The powerful palm wind impacted on the lightning spear, resisting the energy of the lightning spear. The energy of the lightning spear was constantly weakening, and the figure of the great war god was also slowly fading. The energy of both sides was rapidly depleting. The creator sneered again and again. My energy is very strong. Just based on a human like you, how can you contend against me? The creator's energy was indeed very huge, a level higher than Li Fan's. Li Fan's true chi consumption was faster than the creator. If this continued, it was obvious that Li Fan was at a disadvantage. The creator was also full of confidence. He was prepared to take down Li Fan in this wave and get his real body. Li Fan's true chi was already starting to reach the bottom, but he took out an origin recovery pill and stuffed it into his mouth. The origin recovery pill began to replenish a large amount of Li Fan's lost true chi. Sensing that Li Fan's strength was starting to recover, the creator was somewhat stunned. What is going on? The creator felt that it was inexplicable. What method did this Li Fan use to actually start to recover his lost power? A human can't do this. After Li Fan consumed another wave of the creator's power, he ate another origin recovery pill. The true chi that he had consumed was replenished again. The creator was crazy. What kind of situation was this? How could he fight happily? How could a human fight against a powerful god like him? I am a god. God Mayas. A murderous glint flashed across Li Fan's eyes. His great god of war remained where he was and pushed his palms forward. However, Li Fan's figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared in the sky in the blink of an eye, floating in front of the creator. The creator was taken aback. He remembered that Li Fan and the god of war were one body. It was impossible for them to be separated. But now Li Fan actually did it? In the next second, Li Fan placed his palm on the creator's body. Qilin palm. The attack caused the creator's body to fall from the sky and crash into the ground like a cannonball. With a rumbling sound, a huge crater appeared on the ground, and the creator was lying inside. Li Fan stretched out his hand and the extraordinary sword flew into the air, spinning rapidly. Countless sword shadows descended from the sky like rain, madly shooting into the pit below. The ground shook and smoke rose into the sky. It was unknown whether Li Fan's attack was effective or not. But the creator was lying in the pit and did not make a sound for a long time. Li Fan waved his hand and the wind from his palm dispelled the smoke. The creator was squatting in the pit, and the wounds on his body were constantly being healed. With his energy, it was still possible to heal such injuries. But to do so, it would require a lot of energy. Although the creator had a lot of energy, his powerful mental power and various mutant superpowers made him very strong in combat. But after a few battles, the creator's body had been emptied, and he was feeling weak. It was all because of this body. If he could take back his body, then he could become a real immortal god. The creator raised his head, which was still smoking, and looked at the metal can beside him. He raised his hand and shot a row of lightning at Li Fan. Li Fan used a sword shadow to block in front of him, blocking the lightning. But at the same time, the creator's body suddenly appeared on top of the metal can. He stretched out his hand and tapped on the metal can. The metal can immediately split open, and a figure could be faintly seen inside. The creator was very excited. He finally found his body. When the smoke dispersed, he was dumbfounded. The thing placed there was not his body, but a blow-up doll. And it was a cheap Taobao product. Motherfucker. What the hell is this? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. I'm sorry. Due to the lack of funds, I only bought a 300 renminbi one. Lin Qiling's custom-made version. Are you satisfied? Fuck your grandpa. The creator of the universe cursed, but Li Fan suddenly took a step forward and attacked the creator of the universe with a Kirin palm. The creator's body immediately rose into the air, dodging Li Fan's attack. Li Fan, I will definitely find my body. When that time comes, I will destroy you and then the whole world. I think you are the one who is retarded. Li Fan sneered at the creator above him. You only have a bit more power than ordinary people, and you dare to call yourself a god. What a joke. I am a god. How can a mortal like you understand my power? The creator's face was full of disdain. He looked at Li Fan with a look of condescension. I am not in the mood today. I will come back next time to destroy you. The creator said and wanted to leave. You come and go as you please. What do you think China is? Li Fan did not want to let this guy go. Leave something behind for me. As he spoke, he stepped on the cloud-ascending ladder and caught up to the creator in a matter of seconds. He was right in front of him. Lie down. Li Fan raised his leg and like a battle axe, it chopped down on the creator's head. The creator felt the danger and raised his energy shield to block above his head. Li Fan's leg landed on the energy shield. The energy shield was bent and almost broke, but it still bounced Li Fan's leg back. The creator laughed. Did you see that? You can't even break my shield. However, a strong burst of essential chi suddenly erupted from the shield, and it was transmitted directly to the god of creation's body. Bang! The creator fell to the ground again. The creator tried to stabilize his body in the air. Li Fan instantly caught up and put his hand on the creator's head. Boom! The creator's head was pressed into the ground by Li Fan. The ground was distorted and a pit was left. And the creator's head was instantly smashed into pieces. Li Fan killed the creator in seconds. The next second, Li Fan's head suddenly hurt, as if something was trying to drill into his head. It was as if he could see the body of the creator of the universe trying to drill into his head again. But Mr. Yang, who he had not seen for a long time, stood beside him and smiled at him. Mr. Yang raised his cane and hooked it on the creator's leg. The creator was immediately pulled out and thrown to the ground. So it is like this. The creator seemed to be panicking. He turned his head, turned into a star and escaped into the distant sky. Chapter 8:22. The god of creation's body was destroyed by Li Fan, and at this moment, Li Fan was being roared at by Zhou Tai. Where is it? Where is it? Zhou Tai was about to go crazy. X was the most important part of their plan. If X was gone, they would all be finished. Don't worry, I've put it away properly. Li Fan chuckled. Calculating the time, we should have reached Spanish equinox by now. Really? Zhou Tai was taken aback when he heard this. This Li Fan couldn't be lying to him, right? If you don't believe me, wait for half an hour. The news should reach you. Li Fan's words made Zhou Tai a little suspicious, but he said it with such certainty and seriousness. Fine, if I don't see it in half an hour, I'll kill you. Zhou Tai was also extremely angry. He angrily hung up the phone. Li Fan didn't care. Lin Yuesen's method was almost foolproof. If there was a problem, it would only be with 7-Star or Chen Junhua. If one of them was a traitor, then the mission would fail. However, Li Fan believed in these two people and did not doubt them. He sat on a rock in the no-man's land with Lu Bing beside him. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were also resting, while Zhang Guang went out to look for a car. Speaking of which, your officer doesn't trust me at all. Li Fan glanced in a certain direction. The man in the jacket was hiding there with his binoculars and immediately felt a chill. He maintained a distance of 300 meters, but Li Fan could still detect him? If it was someone else with such an abnormal ability, the man in the jacket would definitely not believe it. However, along the way, watching Li Fan defeat the heroes, the man in the jacket felt that there was nothing he couldn't do. He even beat the god of creation away. That god of creation was an internationally famous wanted criminal. He was listed as an international S-rank terrorist. Back then, Saddam Gaddafi was barely considered an A-rank criminal. Are we really going to follow this group of people? When Lu Bing was smoking, Yan Kai walked over and asked Li Fan. That idiot just now, his tone of voice was so arrogant. Yan Kai was displeased. Kill you? What a braggart. If we really fight, who knows who will be killed? Working with these people is like asking a tiger for its skin. Li Fan nodded and said, currently, the escort agency is in a very awkward position. We need their strength. But you're so willing to lower your head? The Li Fan I knew in the past was a little tyrant who wasn't afraid of anything. Right now, I'm also a little tyrant. Li Fan smiled faintly, but the way of being domineering is different. In the past, I only fought against 1 or 2 people, but now, I have to fight against more people. I alone can withstand the pressure they put on me, but I can't do it now. I have to be responsible for the entire escort agency, our entire family. Li Fan's explanation convinced Yan Kai. If you were in my position, I think you would be the same. No matter how arrogant you are, you have to hide it and lower your head. If I'm not right. Yan Kai lowered his head in shame. Old Guan and I failed to share your burden. Instead, we became your burden. No, you've done very well. But the escort agency is getting bigger and bigger, and there are more people. You and Old Guan can protect yourselves, but the others can't. Since I'm the head of the escort agency, I have to bear this responsibility. For example, that Zhou Tai from before. I can also give him a good scolding or directly go to his door and kill him. But what's the point? It's just a moment of pleasure. It's not a big deal to let him scold me. When he knows that I've completed the task, the misunderstanding will naturally be cleared up. I'm afraid that even if he knows he's wrong, he won't apologize to you. It doesn't matter. Li Fan waved his hand. He's not someone that I, Li Fan, care about. What he thinks is not important to me. Yan Kai stared blankly at Li Fan standing in front of him. The youth he'd known for a year or two had suddenly become somewhat unfamiliar, yet also somewhat lofty. In the past, Li Fan was full of thorns, hot-tempered, and fearless. He didn't have any supernatural powers. If he did, he would probably be able to tear a hole in the sky. But now, Li Fan had grown immeasurably, becoming much more mature and steady. Right now, Li Fan was like a towering mountain. Just by standing there, he was like a tall mountain that people could only look up to. Yan Kai still felt a deep sense of self-blame. If he'd been able to share some of Li Fan's burden, he wouldn't have needed to lower his head to those officials. Benefactor. At this moment, Guan Wenbao walked over with his crescent blade and cupped his hands at Li Fan. What is it? Benefactor. Or would like to apply for annual leave. Annual leave? Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, Yan Kai became unhappy and rebuked. Are you crazy? Applying for annual leave from Li Fan at this time? What's wrong? Li Fan pulled Yan Kai, who was a little angry, and asked Guan Wenbao, who was half kneeling in front of him. I believe that my strength is too meager to assist Benefactor. Guan Wenbao lowered his head and said, I hope to have a year to train my strength. I will definitely repay Benefactor after a year. Although we are in need of manpower, your request is understandable. Guan Wenbao had always been diligent in his cultivation, but his frequent work in the escort agency had somewhat delayed his cultivation. "You bastard," Yan Kai was a little angry. "If you want to leave, then leave. This Taoist will not leave the agency. I hope that you can help benefactor in the year I'm gone. When I return after a year, I will definitely make amends. There's no need to talk about making amends. Train your strength well. It won't be a problem to run the agency slowly this year." Li Fan comforted Guan Wenbao. "You can look for me immediately if you need anything." "I'm sorry to disappoint, benefactor. No, we're all brothers. Please don't say that." After this battle, both Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were extremely ashamed. Both of them had their own thoughts, so Li Fan could not say too much. Li Fan could only go along with their wishes and ease their hearts. Both of them were dragons and phoenixes among men, but they still needed some training. This time, it could be considered as a reminder to them, and also to himself. There was always someone better out there. One must not be too confident in one's own strength. After sending off Guan Wenbao, Li Fan received a call from Zhou Tai. "Li Fan, you're truly a godly person," Zhou Tai said with a chuckle. "We've received the item and are sending it to your island. I was right about you. Your strength and schemes are both trustworthy. Then let's settle the balance." Chapter 823. Li Fan finished a big order from the government, and he also ushered in a short period of leisure. Recently, Murong's villa had become very well behaved. It seemed the previous operation had embarrassed Murong Bo, so his superiors exerted heavy pressure on him to deal with Li Fan. Although both sides still had to fight in the open and in the dark, in the organization, Li Fan and Murong Bo's backing still didn't shed all pretense of cordiality, so they didn't want to make things too stiff. If they didn't want things to become too tense, their subordinates had to hold them back. However, just because Murong's villa was quiet didn't mean Li Fan could relax. Recently, the escort agency's business was quite good. Although business in the pugilistic world was still slow, they received some business from the secular world. Moreover, through Zhou Tai's connections, Li Fan often received orders from the government. Some items that the government couldn't or were too lazy to use manpower to transport were all handed over to Fifan to handle. This way, at least Li Fan could make ends meet and even start to have a surplus. The escort agency finally went from a loss-making state to a stable state. However, good days were always too short. While Li Fan was busy revising in school, Big Dipper sent someone with a message, telling Li Fan to hurry to the agency. "What's the matter?" "I'll go over after school tonight." Li Fan stood at the classroom door and looked at the anxious Huang Lei. "But why did you come personally? Haven't you been having a good time lately?" Huang Lei had received quite a bit of money from the big haul last time. Although the limelight hadn't completely passed, it had calmed down quite a bit. Huang Lei couldn't help but donate large amounts of money to various clubs. This guy seemed to have an obsession with used cars. Who knew where he'd gotten a second-hand Camaro, but he drove it every day to pick up girls. It was a joyful sight. He rarely took care of the escort agency's matters anymore. Usually, he ordered his subordinates to do it for him. It was rare to see Huang Lei today. This fellow had a head full of yellow hair and wore a smooth black mink coat. He also had a buffalo leather bag under his arm. He was afraid that others would not know that he was a nouveau riche. What a mess! Li Fan was also speechless. Some of the students and teachers who were passing by looked over with strange gazes. "My dear brother, you're still concerned about these things at a time like this. I was in the middle of discussing life with a girl when Big Dipper called me 100 times to hand me over. He ordered me to bring you to the escort agency. By the way, my good big brother, why don't you turn on your phone? I was in a hurry this morning and accidentally left my phone in the attic." Li Fan explained. "What's so urgent? Can't we go at night? You'd better hurry up and take a look. Otherwise, that geezer Big Dipper will eat me alive." When Li Fan wasn't around, Big Dipper handled the escort agency's affairs. This old man had a lot of experience in Jianghu and was suitable for this kind of work. But I'll ask for leave from the teacher. Recently, Li Fan had been working hard on his studies and could be considered to have made some progress. His average grades had increased by a large margin. Just when he had made some progress, he was asked to skip class again. Li Fan felt a bit pained. Sure enough, a person's energy was limited. If one wanted to be strong and study well, they would need a brain like Lin Yuting. Big Brother can go up and leave whenever he wants. Why would he need to ask for leave from these fellows? Huang Lei's eyes widened and he took out a small katana from his pocket. I'll see who dares to stop my big brother. I'll stab them 3 times. You're crazy. Li Fan reached out and slapped the white katana in Huang Lei's hand away. What are you doing with this thing? Big brother, this is a piece of art I bought when I went out to play. It's very expensive. It's over 3,000. Is 3,000 considered a lot to you now? Li Fan rolled his eyes at him. Lei, it's not that I want to criticize you, but it's not easy for you to earn money. Don't squander all your money. Don't worry, big brother. I'm a person who lives a good life but also a coward life. I can live both good and bad. In any case, you should pay more attention. Li Fan has no other choice. He knocked on the classroom door and greeted the teacher who was in class. After that, he followed Huang Lei and left. If it was a normal day, it would be impossible for a Year 3 student to leave just like that during class time. But the little tyrant is an exception. As long as he doesn't burn, kill, or loot, no one would care what he does. He followed Huang Lei out of the school building. Huang Lei's Camaro is openly parked in front of the school building. Damn, you're too arrogant recently. Li Fan couldn't help but scold Huang Lei. This is a school, you don't allow social vehicles to enter. That's an outsider. When I said I'm Big Brother's little brother, those security guards immediately let me in. Big Brother's face is still big. I think it's your face that's big. Li Fan stared at Huang Lei. You're not allowed to do this in the future. This is not like Big Brother's character to follow the rules. Huang Lei muttered. Big Brother, what do you think of my car? Huang Lei seemed to see that Li Fan is a bit angry and quickly shifted Li Fan's gaze. Li Fan then carefully looked at Huang Lei's Camaro and suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is a limited edition Bumblebee. The entire car body is widened and there are a lot of rivets on the car body, making it a bit nondescript. The rear of the car is equipped with a large and exaggerated rear wing, making it look very unconventional. My car is too domineering. The engine has been changed to 12 cylinders, and it's very powerful. If I see a supercar on the road, my Bumblebee will burst their ass. If you keep a high profile, you'll be in the police station getting your ass burst. Li Fan's words made Huang Lei tense up. Big brother, don't joke around. I like to spend money, but I'm a very honest person. Honest my ass. Li Fan can't be bothered to scold him. Change this car for me tomorrow. Change to an Audi. Big brother, just kill me. This car is my baby, my heart. Huang Lei almost cried out. Look at you. Li Fan rolled his eyes. You handle it yourself. Hurry, bring me to the security agency. Okay, big brother, please get in the car. Huang Lei opened the car door, and Li Fan looked inside. Damn, it's all racing seats, and his butt hurts when he sits on it. You really know how to torture yourself, big brother. This is called pursuing. Big brother, you don't know, but I've been racing with them at Yuyi Road West recently. Those little bastards are no match for me at all. But they have a very good racer and I like his girlfriend. Tonight, I'm going to race with him. If I win, I'll take the girlfriend away, and if I lose, I'll give the car to him. The woman that Huang Lei likes, what does she look like? Li Fan imagined the scene and shuddered. Chapter 8:24. Huang Lei didn't know martial arts, so he couldn't be of much help after the escort agency went on the right track. He basically lived a retired life. Drinking, driving, and flirting became his daily routine. After Huang Lei sent Li Fan to the agency, he ran off in a hurry for God knows what. Li Fan stood at the entrance of the escort agency and looked across the street. The street was decorated with lanterns and colorful streamers, lion dances, and dragon dances. He didn't know what these people were busy with, but it seemed like they'd opened a new shop. There were also many customers on the other side. The crowd was so dense that not even a drop of water could trickle through. What shop is that? Why are there so many people? Li Fan asked as he pushed open the door to the agency and walked in. Oh my, head escort, you're here? Big Dipper, who usually sat on the fishing platform, couldn't sit still anymore. He grabbed Li Fan's hand and said, I wanted to talk to you about the shop across the street. What about the shop across the street? The shop across the street is also an escort agency. Big Dipper hurriedly said, Head escort, it's Jiang Feng. Li Fan couldn't help but raise his brows. Interesting. I didn't provoke him, but he just had to provoke me. Head escort, what do you plan to do about this? Even if someone else opened an escort agency across the street, I'd definitely go over to congratulate them. After all, we'll be neighbors in the future. Jiang Feng and I are old acquaintances. If I don't go, wouldn't it be rude? As Li Fan spoke, he put on his school uniform and walked out of the escort agency. Then he walked across the street. The opposite street was still bustling with activity. Several lion dance teams were there to celebrate the opening of the new escort agency. Li Fan squeezed through the crowd with his vital energy and approached the front. Jiang Feng was dressed in luxurious embroidered clothing. He stood there with a dashing demeanor, returning the greetings of the customers. Jiang Feng cupped his hands in greeting with a face full of smiles, looking very pleased. It was as if he was the center of attention and everyone's eyes were on him. But as Li Fan walked in, everyone's gaze couldn't help but change. Although Li Fan was only wearing an ordinary school uniform, he had a very special temperament that made people have no choice but to take him seriously. A man's name is like a tree's shadow. The little overlord, Li Fan, lived up to his reputation. Hey, if it isn't head escort Li. Jiang Feng cupped his hands towards Li Fan. Nice to meet you. Why you here? Big brother Jiang, you look talented and should be a smart person. Why are you saying such silly things? Li Fan chuckled. How can I not know that you opened an escort agency in front of my house? Your house? This is only your company. It shouldn't be considered your home, right? Oh, it turns out that brother Jiang knows that this is my company. Look at me, I shouldn't have done that. I thought brother Jiang really didn't know. Jiang Feng was speechless. He didn't expect Li Fan to be so eloquent. But he also paused for a moment before quickly speaking again. Head escort Li, don't tell me you're angry at me because I opened my company opposite yours? How can that be? The pugilistic world is huge. God knows how many escort agencies are supported. Li Fan laughed. Everyone earns money and does business together. I'm more than happy that you're opening an escort agency. By the way, your place is quite lively. You wouldn't mind me disturbing you, would you? The two of them engaged in a war of words the moment they met, using their words to attack each other. How can that be? Head escort Li is an honored guest. Why wouldn't I like you coming? After all, I defeated you at Murong's birthday celebration. I'm afraid you'll lose face. Li Fan's words almost made Jiang Feng grind his teeth to pieces. Damn it, this man is definitely doing it on purpose. But Jiang Feng was very shrewd. Although he lost face in front of so many people, he endured it. This kind of shrewdness was not something an ordinary person could have. However, Jiang Feng did not plan to let Li Fan off so easily. He chuckled and said, How can that be? You defeated me because you're capable, head escort Li. But today is the opening day of my shop. It's my honor that head escort Li is willing to send a congratulatory gift. As he spoke, Jiang Feng glanced at an escort beside him. That escort was very quick-witted and immediately interrupted. Li Fan, you're also a head escort now. If you're here to celebrate the opening of your business, you have to bring a congratulatory gift. I see that you're empty-handed. I'm afraid you didn't prepare anything, right? Hey, what are you saying? Jiang Feng reprimanded the escort. Is head escort Li someone who doesn't understand etiquette? Besides, even if you didn't bring anything, his presence is a sign of respect to me. Head escort Li is right. I was rude. Please forgive me, head escort Li. The escort immediately cupped his hands at Li Fan. Li Fan smiled. Jiang Feng really knew how to shift the blame to others. I came in a hurry, so I didn't prepare a congratulatory gift. But this young man is right. I'm the head escort of Fifan Escort Agency, so I can't be rude. Let's do it this way. As he spoke, Li Fan walked to the side of a lion dance team. He extended his hand and took the golden lion's head. He raised it in his hand. How about I perform an impromptu lion dance for you to congratulate you? Big brother Jiang, what do you think? Wonderful, wonderful. Jiang Feng clapped his hands and praised him. He said with a smile, being able to have the little tyrant perform a lion dance for my escort agency will be a great story in the future. Big brother Jiang, here I come. As Li Fan spoke, he put on the lion's head and began the impromptu lion dance with his feet in the lion's footsteps. Although he did not have this kind of experience before, Li Fan was proficient in the steps of a fierce tiger. Although a lion and a tiger were different, their aura was the same. Li Fan walked with the majestic steps of a dragon and waved the lion's head. It was as if he was a real lion king that came out of the forest. Everyone was a little stunned when they saw this. This Li Fan was only an ordinary high school student. How could he know how to perform a lion dance? This set of martial arts was rarely passed down. There were fewer and fewer people who were willing to learn it. It was getting worse with each generation. Now, there were only a few masters in the Guangzhou area who were teaching it. However, in the north, it was basically lost. These lion dance masters were specially invited from Guangzhou. And Li Fan was a northeasterner. How could he know how to perform a lion dance? This was really strange. Could it be that Murong's family taught him? Impossible. Murong's family was also from the north. It was impossible for them to know this kind of skill. Li Fan could not care less about the guest's surprise. He was dancing happily, attracting attention. Li Fan walked up the steps and climbed up the stage. Finally, he jumped towards the plaque that Jiang Feng had just hung up. The World Escort Agency. It implied that the World Alliance had the momentum to unify the pugilistic world. Chapter 825. Jiang Feng's ambition was so great that it was almost hanging on his head. The plaque was hanging there, and Li Fan had already leaped up, as if he was jumping directly towards the plaque. He was so fast and sudden that the people around him didn't notice it at all. By the time they realized it, Li Fan was already in front of the plaque. The lion's mouth seemed to be biting at the plaque. At this moment, a beautiful woman jumped out of the atrium. This beautiful woman was dressed in white and had two beautiful buns. She looked like a little dragon girl, simple, elegant, and beautiful. The woman jumped out and at the same time, held a white sword in her hand and stabbed at the space between Li Fan's eyebrows. The woman's swordsmanship seemed to be quite clever. With a wave of her hand, she stabbed 3 times in a row. They were fast, accurate, and ruthless. But Li Fan sneered. He suddenly roared. The sound wave blasted out, shaking the body of the woman in front of him, causing her to directly fall from the sky, was caught by Jiang Feng. Li Fan used the lion's mouth to bite a flower ball hanging under the plaque and then fell to the ground. Brother Jiang, who is this heroine? Li Fan pretended to be nonchalant. He threw the lion's head back to the previous lion dance master. She's so fierce. Fortunately, I held back some of my strength. Otherwise, I'm afraid she would have died. Jiang Feng gritted his teeth, but he didn't know what to say. Li Fan was not only powerful in martial arts, but also very cunning. If Jiang Feng had a choice, he really didn't like to make Li Fan his enemy. However, there were some things that Jiang Feng couldn't choose. Although he had left Murong's house, he was still secretly controlled by Murong's blog. Murong's blog had taken him out to go against Li Fan. In this way, even if he was kicked out of the Murong family, he could save the face of the Murong villa. At the same time, he could deal with Li Fan without affecting the official status of the Murong family. But this opponent of Li Fan is really not easy to deal with. I'm really sorry, this is my escort agency's martial master, Taishan Sex Shuei Wuxin. Taishan School? Li Fan was a little surprised. In the past, he had heard from Tai Zhu that the 5 mountain sword sect had long fallen apart. Back then, the most powerful sword sect in the world had a fierce battle. In the end, only the Mount Hua sect remained. The other 4 major sword sects had all disappeared without a trace. There was almost no one left. And this beautiful woman in front of him was actually from the Mount Tai sword faction? This was truly surprising. Brother Jiang, I'm sorry. Just now, this woman was extremely fierce to Li Fan, but now, she was as gentle as water to Jiang Feng. The gap between them could be seen immediately. Li Fan couldn't help but want to laugh. It seemed that this person liked Jiang Feng. It's good that Wu Xin wasn't hurt. Jiang Feng first comforted this girl, but next time, don't be so impulsive. Brother Li only went to the lion dance to liven things up. I know, it's my fault. Although Shui Wuxin was apologizing gently in front of Jiang Feng, when she looked at Li Fan, her eyes were filled with anger and disgust. Am I really that annoying? Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Brother Jiang, I have already sent my regards. In the future, please take care of me in the business. With that, Li Fan turned around and was about to leave. He came here just to ridicule Jiang Feng. Since he had achieved his goal, it was time for him to leave. But Jiang Feng didn't intend to let Li Fan go so easily. Just now, it was Li Fan who was attacking. Now, it was time for him to retaliate. Brother Li, you see, from now on we are neighbors. Naturally, we should take care of each other. Jiang Feng called out to Li Fan with a smile and said, You see, I, Jiang Feng, am indebted to everyone's care and received many orders. But my escort agency is only so big. I can't run so many orders. Since we are neighbors, how about this, I will give you 2 orders. What do you think? With that, he turned his head and looked at the Jianghu person beside him. Brother Wang, why don't you give your orders to Brother Li? Our Brother Li is a little overlord. With his strength, he will definitely not disappoint you. Forget it. That Jianghu person quickly waved his hand. In the entire Jianghu, the only agency I don't want to choose is phenomenal. How about Brother Zhang? Spare me. Before Jiang Feng could speak, a man who looked like a boxing master quickly waved his hand. Spare me, spare me. Li Fan glanced at him. This brother came with his escort, but he didn't know who he was giving a box of apples to. He was probably here purely to support. Li Fan really wanted to laugh. A box of apples, couldn't he just use express delivery? What about the other bosses? Unsurprisingly, everyone objected to giving Li Fan orders. Even if it was just a box of apples, it was unacceptable. However, Li Fan wasn't surprised at all. Jiang Feng was purposely using this matter to ridicule him. No matter how amazing his phenomenal escort agency was, in this Jianghu, it couldn't even receive a box of apples. This way, Li Fan would lose all his face in front of the Jianghu heroes. Speaking of which, it's strange. Li Fan looked at Jiang Feng with an innocent face. Brother Jiang, my experience in the Jianghu is shallow. I have some questions that I need to consult you about. What questions? Jiang Feng's face darkened. He had a feeling that Li Fan had some conspiracy waiting for him. You see, I can't get along with Murong's villa, so Murong's villa blacklisted me, making me unable to make a living in the Jianghu. However, Murong's villa also chased you out like a dog, so how can you still have business? Is it because these friends in the Jianghu think that Brother Jiang is more powerful than Murong Bo? Li Fan's words were really a trap within a trap. Each of his words contained a trap. For a moment, he was speechless and didn't know how to answer this question. At this moment, Shui Wuxin took a step forward and said softly, Of course not. Murong's villa is a big business, and Villa Lord Murong Bo is a righteous person with a broad mind. Why would he blacklist us? Chief Escort Li, you're overthinking it. It doesn't seem like the bearing of an expert. Shui Wuxin's words once again rebutted Li Fan. He couldn't help but look at Shui Wuxin a few more times. Jiang Feng also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Shui Wuxin was quick-witted. Otherwise, he might not be able to get through this today. Among these people, there were Murong Bo's informants. If there was any mistake in his words or actions, he would know. So that's how it is. It seems that I'm indeed a petty person who gauges the heart of a gentleman. Li Fan smiled and said, Villa Lord Murong is a good person, a very good person. If he were to mock me, he would be worse than a pig or a dog. Isn't that right, water heroine? Your opinion of Villa Lord Murong is your own business. However, in the Jianghu, gossip is not allowed. If there's a problem, it should be settled with fists and feet, right? Chapter 8:26. That's right. Li Fan nodded his head. In Jianghu, fists speak. I don't know if Big Brother Jiang is willing to have a fight with me today to get some good news. Li Fan's words had a hidden meaning. You and I are only separated by a street. From now on, we will be neighbors, and we will also be in the same profession. How about we make friends through martial arts today to deepen our relationship? What do you think? Jiang Feng swallowed his saliva. The opponent had already said these words, so he definitely could not be a coward. This damn Li Fan. He actually played this trick with him. Shui Wuxin's brain worked very fast, and Li Fan's serpent-punishing stick followed her train of thought and blocked all of the chess moves. Everyone's gaze fell on Jiang Feng. Even though it was a bit unreasonable to propose a martial arts competition at this time, this was Jianghu, and making friends through martial arts was the rule. No matter who it was, they could not break this iron rule. Li Fan had already issued a challenge, so Jiang Feng had to accept it. He looked around and then said, if that's the case, then let's change to a different place to compete. Sure, Big Brother Jiang, please. Li Fan cupped his hands, and then followed Jiang Feng into the inner courtyard of the World Escort Agency, and then they came to a tea room. The martial artists all followed in, wanting to watch the show. Even though they came to support, but when Jiang Feng and Li Fan fought, they couldn't wait to see more of this show. Right now, Jiang Feng was very famous in Jianghu. Because he had a good temper, and because he liked to make friends with heroes, he was given the nickname Young Master Xiao. A match between Young Master Xiao and the Little Tyrant. This was a rare sight. Brother Li, please sit. Jiang Feng led Li Fan to a square table. On this table, there was a chessboard, and on top of it was a chess set. Today is the opening of my store, so it is not suitable for a martial arts battle. How about a civil battle? Competing in chess? I'm not good at this. Hee, Brother Li, not this chessboard, but the one outside. Jiang Feng pointed outside, only to see that on the stage outside, there were rows of stone soldiers. These stone soldiers were extremely lifelike. Every one of them was the size of a real person, and even their expressions were extremely lifelike. The soldiers on one side wore red armor, while the soldiers on the other side wore black armor. There were 16 chess pieces on each side. They were 5 pawns with long spears, 2 Vulcan cannons, 2 chariots, 2 cavalrymen, 2 left and right ministers with jade slips in their hands, 2 guards with long swords, and an emperor wearing a dragon robe. This was the lineup of each team, which corresponded to the Chinese chess. You and I will use these meteorite soldiers as chess pieces. Each of these chess pieces weighs a ton. You and I have to sit in this room and control the chess pieces to play chess. Brother Li, what do you think? Sure. Li Fan nodded. I agree. Come on. Regardless of whether it was a battle of wits or brawn, if he didn't defeat Jiang Feng today, his surname wouldn't be Li. Li Fan said again, Brother Jiang, you see, my chess skills are not good, and I can't compare with you. Why don't you let me have 3 chess pieces? Jiang Feng chuckled. Brother Li, you're too polite. My chess skills are not that good either. We're about the same, so there's no problem of letting you have a go. Li Fan muttered in his heart. Fuck. This Jiang Feng can be so shameless sometimes. How could he say something like that? What a joke. It's not good to be too shameless. Can't you be like me, clean, and cherish your dignity? Then I can let you have 1 chess piece. Li Fan thought of this and couldn't help but say, you see, I'm younger than you. You should let me have a go, right? How shameless. Jiang Feng wanted to scold him, but this Li Fan didn't have any shame. Brother Li is not much younger than me, and if I let you have a go, wouldn't it be disrespectful to you? We're all from the pugilistic world. Face is very important. It's not important, it's not important. Li Fan quickly waved his hand. I, Li Fan, don't have any other strengths, but I'm thick-skinned. Brother Jiang, let me have a go. I'm not letting you have a go. This time, Jiang Feng felt a little uncertain. Li Fan didn't say a single word, and he didn't know which one to listen to. Sigh, Brother Jiang is too heartless. I really don't understand chess. Li Fan said with a deadpan expression. I don't even know that the horse moves in the sun and the elephant moves in the field. Don't you think it's scary? Jiang Feng almost scolded out loud. This is called not knowing? I've already said it out loud. A duel should naturally be fair. Shui Wuxin interrupted and began to push Li Fan. Brother Li, asking my head escort to let you have a few chess pieces is no different than letting the opponent make 3 moves in a duel. Who can accept this? Sure, let's duel. Li Fan nodded and looked at Shui Wuxin in front of him. I can accept it. You're lying through your teeth. No, why don't you let your brother Jiang compete with me? I can let him make 3 moves first. These words made Jiang Feng gnash his teeth in anger. Shui Wuxin also frowned slightly. This Li Fan's words could make people vomit blood. Jiang Feng stopped Shui Wuxin and signaled her to stop talking. Brother Li, let's have a duel, shall we? Brother Jiang, please. Li Fan also didn't say anything and extended his hand. Jiang Feng vented all his pent-up anger on this chess piece. Red came first, then black. Not only did Jiang Feng not let go, he took the red chess piece and moved first. Jiang Feng started with the traditional cannon. The heavy Vulcan cannon moved slowly under Jiang Feng's control. This cannon weighed far more than a ton. Watching the cannon move slowly, the surrounding Jianghu people couldn't help but applaud. This Jiang Feng was indeed worthy of being the eldest disciple of Murongbo. He was really powerful. His ability to use his true qi was not something that an ordinary person could use. Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and controlled the Vulcan cannon. There was no sweat on his forehead. Too powerful. A boxing master couldn't help but praise, indeed powerful. Of course, don't you see whose disciple he is? How can the outstanding disciple of Manor Lord Murong be ordinary? Exactly. This time Li Fan should know to retreat. Everyone was discussing, but Li Fan didn't care at all. He didn't even stretch out his hand and the warhorse flew up and moved to a defensive position. Everyone was stunned. Damn, what was going on? He didn't even stretch out his hand and use true energy to move the warhorse? This Li Fan at such a young age could already use true energy to this extent? This ability was really powerful. Brother Jiang, it's your turn again. Li Fan smiled at Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng frowned and moved the next chess piece. When it was Li Fan's turn to move the chess piece, he felt that it was a lot heavier, as if someone was pressing it. Li Fan glanced at Jiang Feng, who secretly stretched out his hand and smiled kindly at him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.